All right, here we go. Okay, as we're getting ready to get started with our second virtual volunteer fair, we want to make sure that you guys can hear us okay, and all of our speakers that you'll be hearing from today as well. If you do have any audio issues this morning and you can see my mouth moving but not hear my voice, you'll want to check that audio tab and go to audio settings. Make sure that you have the right speaker chosen for your system and that the volume is up. And if you have additional issues, we do have a WebEx guide on our website. Michelle, can you drop that link into the chat box, the WebEx help guide that's on the website?
That's the one I can't drop.
Okay.
With my server issue this morning.
No problem. Let me drop that in real fast before we get started. There we go. Nope. There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, of course. So as we get started, it is 9 o'clock on my my system over here. We want to welcome everybody to our second Texas Master Naturalist Virtual Volunteer Fair. Started with our first event last September. This was the brainchild of Michelle Haggerty and Judith Green as a way to put our Master Naturalist volunteers in contact with organizations and partners and conservation entities that needed volunteers, even though that we aren't able to see you in person sometimes, but we still want to have our volunteers stay active and in providing service and stewardship for our state's resources. And so this was a great way to provide that virtual connection for our partners and our volunteers, and kind of do a showcase of project opportunities for Master Naturalists to get involved with. Before we get started with today's lineup of presentations, we want to go over a few housekeeping rules and then also a couple of guides on things that you're going to want to keep in mind as you, as a Master Naturalist volunteer, engage with some of these projects. Nope, I went too far. So some virtual meeting room etiquette. We like to cover this every time we have a meeting such as this today, to make sure that we're all on the same playing field as we engage with our presenters, other volunteers, and our hosts today. Please note that your videos have been turned off as attendees. Our speakers will have their videos on when they're speaking, and the other panelists, as those individual speakers are speaking, will also have their videos off. That helps to highlight the individual speaker who is speaking at the moment with their video, and that'll help to show on our recording well at the very end when we share this recording. We are asking that you, all of our attendees will stay muted the entire time, and you can use the chat room to ask questions of our presenters. We have a few moderators with us today: Michelle Haggerty, myself, Mary Pearl Moit, and then Judith Green are going to be moderating today's presentations. And if there are questions asked in the chat room and there's time within that short 10-minute window that each of our presenters have, we will verbally ask those questions that you have typed in. And then if there's time, they will verbally answer those questions for you, or they may stay on and answer some of those questions in chat if you have more questions. Speaking of our chat room, we do have a chat room etiquette. Please use clear questions. No acronyms. That helps us as the moderators to be able to ask the questions and make sure that we're understanding the question that you have at hand. Please chat to everyone, or to all panelists. That helps to make sure that everybody sees your question, all of our moderators, and the first one to be able to answer that can get to that. That helps to get your question asked quickly and answered quickly. Please use chat to stay related. Please use chat to engage in questions only related to the presentation topic at the time. Any side conversations need to move to a different platform or to offline. We want to make sure that we're staying on task and on focus with the virtual volunteer fair projects that we have today, especially as our presenters have a very short 10-minute window today to present. We want to stay on task with our chat room. And do know that chat room will be recorded and posted to our website post-event. Agenda times will be kept. I mentioned the short time frame for each of our project proposals, and they're going to have a short 10 minutes, and so we are going to stay on time today. And even if we wrap up a presentation early, we're going to take that break and start that next presentation directly on their scheduled agenda time frame. This entire event is being recorded and will be posted to our website. If not later today, tomorrow morning. Same thing with our day 2 event. Hopefully by the end of the day, depending on the length of time it takes to process the recording. And then if not, it'll be posted by Friday morning. And then you're welcome to pop in and out throughout the day. There's a catalog of projects on our website, and that project catalog has the times. So if there are specific projects that you're interested in attending, feel free to pop in and out during those presentations that you're most interested in. There's a little bit of a lag on my computer. I apologize about that. So more information about our website is more information about today's virtual volunteer fair is on our website. That is the clearinghouse of all of the information that you'll need for engaging in today's virtual volunteer fair, today and tomorrow's. It is a 2-day event. You'll go to Naturalist News and you'll go to our virtual volunteer fair page. Please note that that link is going to be shared in the chat room throughout the day today as a helpful tool to be able to access all of that information. Each of our presentations have been shared via a full catalog of each project that has a huge amount of information about each of the projects that our guests have prepared for you today. Please use that catalog to seek for more information on the volunteer project that they are presenting to you, so that when you sign up to volunteer, you understand the full breadth and width of what they're asking for with their volunteers. We do have a few projects that are not able to be presented today or tomorrow. So don't forget about those. They are in our catalog and our agenda as well. And then lastly, when you're engaging with our projects, we will have a SurveyMonkey link that we're going to be sharing throughout the entire day today. This SurveyMonkey link will be how you connect with your project hosts that you're interested in volunteering for. You will fill out your information, your contact information on that survey, and you will say, yes, I want to volunteer for this project. And then we will be sharing your contact information with those project hosts throughout the month of February, and then closing that survey at the end of the month of February. And we'll be sharing that final list of contacts with our project hosts at the end of February as well. Your project hosts may have additional training that they want you to follow up with. They may have additional steps and connections, and they will contact you about those. And then please note that there may be more volunteers than needed for some projects. That rang true in September. And so that we may have more opportunities to connect with additional projects and additional project hosts with a 3rd volunteer fair later this year, if deemed necessary.
Okay, so one of the questions that we learned, and some of the things that we learned from our last virtual volunteer fair, is we received a lot of questions about how do I log hours for today? And then how do I log hours for volunteering on these projects? So first I'll cover how to log hours for attending today, or if you're not able to attend in person today, live right now. As was mentioned, we are recording this and we'll make the recording available on our website. And our volunteers, our members, can get service for listening to the recorded session after the event today. The first thing you want to do when you are going in to report attending or listening to this service project opportunity, the fair today, ensure that you are approved for this service project opportunity by your chapter VMS admins, or sign yourself up for the statewide opportunity TMN virtual volunteer service fair. This project opportunity has been created in the VMS already and shared with all of your chapters. So there's a good chance that it's already in, you've already been approved for it, and it's in your drop-down box, your drop-down list when you go to report. If it is not, you can click on that link there, and we'll drop that in the chat. And you can sign up for this opportunity and then report to it after the fact. When you report, please, so as a reminder, this spring event, the virtual volunteer event, is happening across 2 days, today and tomorrow. And so if you attend both days, you'll need to report both attendance on both days separately. So you would report a logbook entry for today, and then if you attend tomorrow, report another logbook entry for tomorrow and what you attended. Use the opportunity that's listed here on the screen, the TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair, to log your hours. And just keep in mind that you should be logging hours to the nearest quarter hour, and for the total amount of time that you're actually tuning in for, either listening or online live today. So we realize that you're going to be popping in and out. Attending each session roughly, if you pop in and out, takes about 15 minutes. So let's say you attended 3 of the projects presented today, then you would present 3/4 of an hour, 0.75 hours for attending those sessions or listening in on those sessions.
And Michelle, we're running close to time, and I want to make sure that we're following our own rules. So we'll talk about the VMS throughout the day, throughout our breaks, but I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to hand it over to our first presenter today.
Yeah. Already share.
It's coming. And then I'm going to ask that all other speakers or panelists turn their video off so that Lois's video will be highlighted today.
Okay, so here I am. Share. Ta-da.
And it's all yours.
My name is Lois Diggs. A little nervous. I only got 9 minutes or 10 minutes to tell you about this wonderful project. I do have to inform you that I am a master naturalist also. So I just became one in 2020. So I'm just really proud of that, besides being a master gardener. So I'm giving you an opportunity to learn about the native Texas park at the George W. Bush Presidential Library. We are located in Dallas. We're a 15-acre native park. We're right on the SMU campus. We are open 365 days a year from sunrise to sunset, and it is free to all visitors. You do not ever have to enter the library to visit the park. We give guided tours available in spring and the fall, and upon request, a lot of garden clubs, especially during the spring, weather permitting, and that's something we would go over. Also, all presidential libraries, you need to understand, are nonpartisan. We operate under the National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, and we specifically with the Native Texas Park are underneath Dr. Sharon Brannon, who is the education specialist. And there are 6 of us, a small group, who help try to explain everything about our park. The park is not just the 15 acres. I'm going to share lots of pictures in this short amount of time. It is all of the 22-acre facility. It is everything from the what we call the Texas Rose Garden instead of the White House Rose Garden, our South Terrace outside of the Institute. The immediate, when you walk up to the front, you will see our habitat, our habiturf grass. And then as you walk through the 1 mile pathway through our park, you will just see amazing flowers, trees, grasses. This is my favorite picture of them all. On our park, we have 36 varieties of native prairie grasses, 32 varieties of trees. These are not ones we planted new. These are full grown, majority of them. And we have 53 variety of wildflowers. With that said, that is our listing when we opened in 2014. We are going to be doing an assessment as to what we actually do have, not have, invited or uninvited species that have come to join us. We have benches throughout where people can sit. We walk on our habiturf pathways or decomposed granite. We have an amphitheater that people come and sit and have events. Actually, we've had some garden clubs host their whole meeting there. So we try to present the idea of our park as an example of the 3 ecoregions around Dallas, your Blackline Prairie, your Post Oak Savanna, and your Cross Timbers. So we are a place-based volunteer opportunity. And what this means is that we are giving you an opportunity to join with us as a park tour volunteer or special events. And we do have 2 special events throughout the year. We are educating the public about the native grasses, trees, wildflowers, the soil, the hydrology, and the park. And we try through our guided tours and our seasonal events to hopefully help our visitors to understand the principles between the environmental conservation, and I'm trying to make sure I say this right, and restoration, because this area was a parking lot and apartments back before the Bushes ended up putting their library here. So we have reconfigured the landscape totally by moving 100,000 cubic yards of soil, introducing the right kinds of microbes, fungi, to bring this soil back. So why I'm asking you as a master naturalist to help is, one, since I've become one, I'm just really excited to share this with everyone. But we can give the facts. I have brochures we have made. We have things on the website. We have our tours. But if we don't have someone who cares enough, like we as master naturalists do, about the land and what has been done on this park, we can't really make those facts come alive for people. We need your knowledge, that I know you have extensive amounts of, your enthusiasm and your passion. And this is one of all of our favorite trees, and I just like to highlight this because we've had many people come in on our tours and stand there and go, why don't you take that tree down? It's dead. And this gives us an opportunity to explain about the river birch and what its relatives are, why it was planted there, and how they could have it in their landscape too. So as far as our project, you need no specific experience, no equipment needed. We will give you everything you need, and you will bring in so much knowledge for us. We do require, as a volunteer at the park, you do have to fill out some paperwork because we are a secure place. Mr. and Mrs. Bush do actually have offices in the Institute. Never see them, never interacted, but because of that, there is a security concern that is necessary for us to fill out paperwork. You have a 2-hour volunteer orientation that just brings you up to date as to what a residential library is, and that's it. And then we have a large Native Texas Park manual with our other handouts. We have a beautiful brochure we give out to people during the spring break time when people come for the spring flowers. You can volunteer in several ways. You can help us with our tours, which usually on Saturdays, 10 and 11, and also upon request. Our tours are in March to June in the spring, and of course that's our wildflowers. Fall, we have from August to November, and that's where we try to really present the idea of migration for our monarchs. And we also have many, many birds, and we're hoping someone would help us with our bird program. We also, if you don't want to do a tour as being a guide, you can also help us with our Monarch Mania. If anybody was at the conference, I think in Garland in 2019, and took the field trip to the Bush Center, I may have been your guide. And we actually tagged, I had Sam running around helping collect or catch monarchs, and we did monarch tagging. In the spring wildflower emphasis, we try to make sure people understand why not to pick the bluebonnets, how they could plant more in their landscape. So the benefits to you as a master naturalist is right now you would be learning at home. So we are planning, prepping, and practicing for the fall. We really don't expect to be able to do this in the spring just because of the way things are going. So I have more than enough information, and we would be having Zoom information talks, and you can walk the park. We just can't make it an official volunteer opportunity for us to educate you on. This is seasonal volunteering, so you can do it in the spring or the fall. I do this year round because we're working on our new publications or organizing our events. You can develop your skill for tours. We're really wanting to expand into interpretive guiding as to how we present our tours, and that's something we're working on. And we want you to follow your passion. I'm going to become an entomology specialist, and I'm really pumped about that. I love grasses. We have a master naturalist and 2 master gardeners also who help us in our small group. And we have one woman, Mary Lou Simon, who keeps the the Instagram site called Mockingbirds and Bluebonnets, and she's taken all these amazing photographs, researches the plants, gives you where they're located, and some history about it. So she has found her passion and using her talents in photography. So
Lois, you have about 1 minute.
1 minute. This is how you can contact me. I'm sorry that I've gone over. I just get too enthusiastic. It is Lois S. Diggs. It is on the site for that. And if there are any questions, I can take maybe 30 seconds. How's that? Sorry. I get too enthusiastic.
No worries.
So if there are any questions, I'll be glad. Or you can email me at loissdiggs@gmail.com, and I will be glad to answer anything you have or take you on a tour.
Thank you so much, Lois. Appreciate your wonderful presentation. And unless there are any questions from the other hosts that you see in the chat room, maybe one? No?
Oh, am I supposed to see the chat? Interesting.
Oh, ma'am. No, we'll let you know if there are any questions. It does not appear to be that there are any, so we will move on to the next presenter.
I will. I need to stop sharing, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I'm going to just log out.
Yes, ma'am. Very good.
Yeah,
So our next presenter is going to be Stephanie Keith, doing prairie restoration maintenance plan. Go ahead, Stephanie, whenever you're ready. Are you able to share?
Hello. Okay. All right. Everybody see the screen?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're good to go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Stephanie Keith with Middle Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, and I'm here today to present a volunteer opportunity for our new and upcoming project. We will be restoring native prairie on our new outdoor learning center. So what we have planned right now is 73,000 square feet that is currently in Bermuda and Johnson grass, so it's definitely going to be a feat. We have in store a plan to start that process late spring 2021. Obviously, with our construction schedules and everything, that's tentative. Basically, we need a 3-part maintenance plan. How will the area be managed or maintained short term? How will the area be managed or maintained long term? And what will be done to prevent invasive non-native plants from outcompeting the native plants? So we're seeking guidance for that. Here is a view of what our plan entails. It's about 4 acres. It's a little over 4 acres, and it's adjacent to our current office building. And so if you notice on the northern part of our...
I think we're just seeing your desktop with the cute kid and the dog.
Oh.
I apologize. I thought that was the beginning of your presentation. It seemed to pop up.
It was very attractive.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Willie and my little girl.
We're good to go. We can see it now.
Can you see this now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, terribly sorry. I do that every time. I'm going to annotate real quick. If you guys can see this, it would be the area that we're going to restore. It has a watershed feature here, and it will have a mown path. And so that will be, our plan is to make that ADA accessible as much as possible so that everyone will be able to enjoy that. So final product, the final product should be a comprehensive maintenance plan, ensure the success and longevity of our prairie restoration portion of our project. This is a very key feature because where we are located in the urban area of Stephenville. We're right at the heart, surrounded by school districts, apartment complexes, and development is going up all around us. And so we have this unique opportunity to provide a native scape for our community. So we will be using this product to apply for various seed grants and other grants that come about, and it would be helpful if it was in like a manual type form for easy access. The logistics, basically, we feel that we could, 1 to 2 volunteers would suffice for this project. Service and planning. These dates are negotiable. Like I said, we have a tentative construction schedule right now. We're finishing up our schematic design. So we could start mid-February and conclude by March 5th. But like I said, that's negotiable. Location could be remotely. If an on-site visit needs to happen, that's feasible. We can accommodate that easily. And we would expect our volunteers to efficiently collaborate with myself as the project manager and weekly by Zoom or another virtual platform as needed. The hours are flexible. Any collaboration with myself would be during business hours, 8 to 5, unless, you know, the schedules were conflicting. Project experience equipment, basically internet, computer, email, a phone, that's helpful, and advanced training, just previous training and prairie restoration experience, and, you know, kind of tell us the do's and don'ts. I've heard from our master naturalist group locally here that it is a definite difficult task to restore this, so we understand that this could be a give and take. Benefits. Prairie restoration in an urban area provide this beautiful escape for communities and kids, families, and be a part of an outdoor learning center. So this is an actual, if you see the background, this is an actual view of what it will potentially look like. Our building will be net zero and open air to a certain extent. We've designed it so that we can shut the doors, study the airflow so that it can be used year round. We do foresee we will have programming for all ages, ranging from the collegiate, adult, children, toddlers, all ages of children, school trips, a hub for master naturalists, a hub for master gardeners, scouts, name it, we're open. So it will be mainly open as far as like tours and things, obviously during the week from 8 to 5 during our business hours. And then we will have the building will not be open, but the actual trails will be open for on the weekends. So it would provide firsthand experience in developing a prairie from the ground up with extensive Bermuda and Johnson grass removal. So this is the backside of our building, our activity lawn, and then you can see a portion of what we project our native prairie to look like. We will have rainwater harvesting. That water will be used for our temporary irrigation. A lot of different features. So here's my contact information. There's my email and our office phone numbers. So that concludes my presentation. So if you have any questions, I can entertain those now.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. There was one question as to where exactly this is located.
This is in Stephenville, Texas on 930 Wolf Nursery Road. We're right down from Walmart.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I don't see any other questions in the chat, but we will wait. Thank you so much for a great presentation, and you're going to probably put us right back on time. So we've got about a minute and a half, so we're going to just wait it out until your next presentation, and
Okay.
she will be presenting on erosion plot design next.
Okay.
So if you want to go ahead and put that presentation up, go ahead and do that.
Stephanie, we had a question come in, and a good opportunity to say this out loud. For all of those watching, if you'll make sure that you ask your question to all panelists, that way everybody gets to see your question at the same time, and we can make sure that our speakers all hear that question. Another question that came in directly to me was, Stephanie, can you talk about your budget for that very ambitious project?
Our budget it's a $2 million project. So we are working with Lake Flato Architects, and they have extensive experience with these types of conservation. They're very conservation minded. They have some of the top accredited, LEED accredited, and site sustainability certified sites across the nation. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with the Dixon Water Foundation, Josie Pavilion in Decatur. That is, I can't remember, they are the top LEED certified facility it's the only one of its kind. And so we're excited to be working with them on this project. We hope that it opens a door, being that we're a groundwater conservation district. No one else has done this before. And so we hope to really, open this door for people to come in and get some experience and kind of fulfill our mission to build stewardship and conservation knowledge.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you for your next talk. Again, it is going to be on erosion plot design. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right. So the next thing that we are providing an opportunity to be involved in is an erosion plot design. And this comes about, again, here's our project overview. I guess I'll go ahead and go over that again just in case somebody new joined in. At Middle Trinity Conservation District, I'm Stephanie Keith, and we're building an outdoor learning center. And a lot of our programming is going to be kind of an extension of the TEKS that are taught within the school districts. A lot of that is with we had a traveling, I guess you could say, a traveling education act prior to the idea of building this outdoor learning center, which I was the educator. And so we felt very important to, we found an opportunity with the sites next door to us. It does have a riparian area. And so with the plots, a lot of the tools that I use are, it's like similar to a rainfall simulator. And so this is the design that we're looking at. We're working with Tarleton. And Dr. Bellows and I felt that it would be a great opportunity to involve master naturalists to kind of use their experience and their knowledge gained throughout the program. So the runoff plots, the volunteers will work with myself and we'll design multiple areas throughout the site so that we can explain to our patrons about how vegetation and different soil types affect erosion and also human impact. And so we do have some of the equipment already for this, but what we're really looking for is for our master naturalists to help us explore a different variety of plant species, seeding methods, and patterns and soil types, and to use those as demonstration areas to explain to all about the importance of these things and how it can kind of make or break a riparian area. We do have some location options. We have a berm on the backside of the property, and so we thought that would be a good area to utilize for a few of these plots. So volunteer responsibility, the plant location based on plot location and plot design. So plot design modifications to improve functionality and design with an educational focus at the forefront. So like I said, we're going to be using these to observe and record the site transformation as we restore it back to its native state. So our goal is to use as much native vegetation as possible, trees, plants, grass, flowers, to build our pollinator gardens and such. And like I said, it was an integral part of our educational programming. So logistics, 1 to 2 volunteers. We can start planning as early as March, and then I foresee that the plan would need to be due by May 30th. We will be probably gearing up for our construction to begin, so it would be, we would need that plan so that we know where we need to place these plots. It could be remotely. Obviously, we would need to collaborate back and forth, so that could be via Zoom or another virtual platform. And on site, obviously, our volunteers will kind of look around, kind of get oriented with the topo and other logistics of our project. Our work hours are flexible, and like I said before, anything collaborative with myself would be within the hours from 8 to 5, unless there was conflicting schedules and we needed to adjust otherwise. So equipment, internet, phone, email, again, that way we can communicate back and forth. And then we, like I said, we have most of the equipment already needed to start designing some of our plots. Advanced training, obviously we would need plant knowledge, riparian native plant knowledge, erosion prevention, conservation and educational programming, because like I said, that it would be useful to have somewhat of an educational background, or just to understand how we can interpret this information for a multitude of audiences. So benefits, opportunity to be a developmental part of the Outdoor Learning Center. Again, to build up community, our stewardship, and education about natives and their importance and why they're so beneficial, and conservation. And again, firsthand experience to put all of our hard work from this program, this such a wonderful program, back into a project. Again, here's my contact information, the email and office numbers there. And I look forward to talking to many of you. And I forgot to mention earlier, I'm actually in the process of getting certified to be a master naturalist myself. I just started the class in January. So so far it's been very exciting, and I can't wait to learn more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. This does sound like an exciting project for sure, because I mean, it definitely interests me. So I'm sure it will interest others. There is one question that I can see, and they were asking, where did the 2.2 million come from to do this project?
The district itself.
Okay. And let's see, has any organization in the U.S. already done something like this, to your knowledge?
As far as like a groundwater district?
Yes.
Not in the state of Texas. I can't speak for the other states.
Okay, thank you.
There are smaller projects like this. I mean, I know some districts up in the Panhandle have rain gardens and green infrastructure with their parking, and they have demonstration gardens, but nothing to the extent of what we're doing.
Yeah, this is definitely very exciting to see it actually on the ground, for sure.
Right. Thank you.
So at this point, I don't think I see any other questions, unless Michelle has come across any.
I had a question that related to the previous presentation, but also here. Betsy asked, how do you plan to remove existing grass?
We're options. We can solarize it, or we can chemically remove it. And so right now, since we should have, the solarizing is a little behind schedule. And so being with our time frame of construction, I believe we're going to chemically remove it because there's so much. It's pretty extensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, and our next talk starts in about 2.5 minutes. So we are going to just go ahead and see if Jordan Kiefer is available. Thank you again, Stephanie. We really appreciate your time in presenting your two projects.
Thank you.
And Jordan Kiefer is up next, presenting talk on social media content, a need for social media content. So if Jordan is available, I see her starting to share content. So we will wait. We've got about 2 more minutes. So we'll just go ahead and wait 2 minutes before we get started.
While we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for the, now my words are failing me, for the Virtual Volunteer Fair website in the chat room for everybody. On that website, you'll find our catalog of projects that has contact information, has information on projects that are in person, like the previous presentations, that are distance but location-based projects. We also have information on that website on those that are virtual or statewide applicable, and which chapters are available for which projects. So please check out that website. And specifically that catalog of projects, and I'll go ahead and I'll drop that link in the chat as well. So that's available with a quick click of that link, so that you can have all of that information at your fingertips as these presentations are being presented. One other housekeeping thing while we're waiting for the 10-minute mark. If you have we've been posting the SurveyMonkey link to be able to sign up for projects. You can either sign up for individual projects as they're presented, or you can wait until the end of the day or at the end of the 2 days and sign up for all of the projects all at once. The SurveyMonkey will allow you to log in multiple times. So depending on how you want to volunteer and which projects you're most interested in, make sure that you know that you are committing to volunteering with that project when you sign up for it via the SurveyMonkey link. All right, Judith, and you're keeping
Okay.
track for us?
Jordan, I think we are going to go ahead and start. We've got a little less than a couple of seconds. So if you want to go ahead and just unmute yourself, and we do see your presentation. So whenever you're ready.
Fantastic, thank you so much. Hello everyone. So my project is creating social media content. My name is Jordan Kiefer. I'm the Interpretive Park Ranger at Galveston Island State Park. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Let's see here, if I can get it to go. All right, so what that entails is the first part is optional. We do have some virtual content that we are doing through different organizations, such as the United States Fish and Wildlife Services, some Connect to Texas. So setting up and taking down for those is an option if you want to do anything in person, of course, with COVID protocols in place. And also helping with some self-guided activities. I recently did a meditation hike that was pretty popular. So helping to brainstorm some of those and make those happen. For the most part though, the project I'd like to work on is creating some interpretive social media content. So primarily for our Instagram and Facebook pages. This can be anything from just creating a post with a photo, doing some videos, advertising any of our self-guided events, and then creating some event calendars. Some expectations we have for this would be everything that we post on our social media would need to be relevant to the park, educational, make sure it's factually correct, hopefully interpretive, and then of course if we can make it entertaining, that's always great, and making it visually appealing. Some of the logistics, I could probably handle up to 3 volunteers for this. Most of this will be done virtually at home. However, if you do want to take on this project, you are more than welcome to come to the park to create your content. If you want to take some photos, make some videos, we would waive your entry fee and you're more than welcome to come here and do that. Ideally, for the volunteers, I would like 1 to 2 posts per week to keep our social media active. And hours are based upon the volunteers' availability. Of course, I would like at least 1 weekly post, but I have no fixed hours. It's flexible, no fixed timeline, no due date, so very flexible. However, I would ask if you are no longer able to volunteer, just to let me know as soon as you know. So that I can find other people to help with this project. Project experience, so having access to some kind of computer. We do have an extra computer in the Nature Center that you're more than welcome to use if you'd like to use it. Also have a camera, whether that's your own professional camera, just a small one, or your iPhone or smartphone. Experience with social media content would be needed, and then a background in interpretation and photography would be added bonuses. There's no additional training needed. However, if you'd like me to walk through a little bit of what I expect, that is totally fine. We can set up a training day for that. But for the most part, if you're familiar with it, we'll just keep that ball rolling. Benefits for you would be gaining experience with things such as interpretation. If you don't have a lot of education experience or outreach, this would be a perfect time to do that. Helping to create social media content, so if you want to play around with making videos or posts. And then of course refine your camera and writing skills. Due to these times right now, as an interpreter, we're not able to do very big programs. We're looking at groups of 10 or less. So social media has been a great way for us to educate and reach people, to teach about our park. You'd be gaining outreach and education experiences. For me personally, I've done a lot of the social media content and it's really helped me figure out what people are interested in, what grabs people's attention, and helps me create events as I go on. So this is my contact information. Once again, my name is Jordan Kiefer, Interpretive Park Ranger for Galveston Island State Park. I do have my office number and my cell phone number posted. However, I do prefer email. I'm a little bit more responsive on that. And I did leave that in the bottom section below. So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. It's pretty easy project.
Thank you so much, Jordan. There is a question on asking whether or not you can please explain what interpretive means a little bit better.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So interpretive, we're talking about, so a lot of times we have facts about animals, wildlife, and all that, and we can write down those facts. However, there's a way to make it interpretive or make it where it connects to an audience that may not be familiar with the subject that you're talking about. So making it entertaining, connecting it to someone who would have no background in it, to the general audience. So interpretation really is really breaking down these really strong scientific facts into a way that a common person would be able to understand them. Does that answer your question a little bit more?
Hopefully, I don't.
Okay.
But and then another question is are there existing photos available to use for this if we can't visit the park?
Yes, there is. We do have a database, and I can send that over. And I do have my own personal photos that I can send to you. So if there's any topic that you would want to talk about, any animal, plant, we probably have a photo of it. So you can always send me an email and I can send that over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Jordan. I don't see any other questions at this time. So we are, thank you for being prompt with your presentation. We have, looks like we have at least 3.5 minutes left. So the next, and is there anything else you'd like to finalize with? Anything else you'd like to say?
I hope you choose my project.
All right. Well, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. If you would go ahead and just unshare your screen. And at this point, our next, there isn't a next speaker. It will actually be break. So we can go ahead and take that break a little bit early. And then everybody needs to come back at about 9:59. We'll be starting at 10 o'clock promptly with the next speaker.
While we are on break, we're also going to cover some of the VMS points that we missed earlier this morning to make sure that we stayed on time. We're going to start that in just a few minutes. So it is officially break, but Michelle's going to explain some of the VMS logging. Michelle, do you want to start that now?
Sure. Yeah. Move me to the slide.
Go. I'm going to start you over. This is the slide that you ended with.
Yeah. So just to make up some time here, catch up with before we had to break to keep on schedule today. For those of you who are still on, I covered how to log hours, how to report your service for attending this session, the Virtual Volunteer Service Fair today, or listening to it later if you're a member that is listening to the recording after the fact. I mentioned earlier, ensure that you are signed up for the TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair project opportunity. This project opportunity has been created at the statewide level and then shared or copied into all of our chapters folders in the VMS. So if you're a VMS admin, it is there. As a member, when you go to report service today, make sure that you are reporting to this project opportunity, the TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair. If you're not if you do not see this service fair in your project drop-down list to report to, you can sign up now or sign up for it through that link there. And we're dropping the link in the text chat throughout the day or when we address this. And then another reminder, the fair, this spring fair is a multi-day event. So what we are presenting several projects today, and then a whole another set of projects that are different will be presented tomorrow on Thursday. So if you attend both days, report for each day. You'll do separate reports for each day or separate logbook entries for each day as a member. And then lastly, just a reminder that report to the nearest quarter hour. So if you're attending just a few of the sessions throughout the day today, report just the time that you attended or sat in or actively listened for, regardless of whether you're attending live or recorded later on.
Michelle, I have an interesting question that came in for you actually. When watching the entire program each morning, do we subtract break time or include it when logging VMS hours? I think it's included as it's part of that 15-minute increment that surrounds and getting started.
Yeah, it all depends. We're going to leave that to the honor system. It all depends what you're doing with your break. If you're doing something related to taking the survey and adding your name to a project, go ahead, report it as service. If you're taking a break, think about how you report that or not. So honor system there. Two types of project opportunities are being presented. Whoops. Is this the right one? There's a lag.
It's a little jumpy.
Yeah. We are presenting two different types of project opportunities today. One is true virtual service projects. So these are typical projects that can be done typically from any master naturalist statewide, but assisting virtually from your home or from a device or from a computer using online tools and resources and contributing to that project. The other type of projects that we're presenting today are what we're calling distanced service projects, where typically distanced service projects take place at a site or location, kind of on the ground type of projects. They can be done solitarily or in very small groups with the tightest of social distancing guidelines, while following all of the program rules, regulations, and then certainly your local COVID-19 health and safety guidelines and service measures. So we recognize at this time those health and safety guidelines are different, maybe from county to county, city to city, and so that you and even from location to location. So if you're serving at a nature center, they may have a little bit different twist or spin on or stringent health and safety guidelines in this time of coronavirus, COVID-19. So just be aware of those. Distance service projects can be place-based or non-place-based. And then the other note about the types of project opportunities today is that many of the projects that are presented throughout the event across these 2 days are seeking the specialized training that our master naturalists receive for their ecoregion. So a project that is happening in East Texas or the Piney Woods region may not be the member in that specific ecoregion receives training specific to that ecoregion. So a member who is from, say, West Texas may not have the specific exact ecoregion specific training that would be able to address those service projects in the East Texas area. So we have identified the best suited, best fitting chapters for projects that happen within a specific ecoregion or projects that need specific training. And we'll be dropping those notes and information within the chat throughout the day. They're also clearly outlined in the guide, the virtual fair catalog that we have. So if you're, I previously covered how to report attending the service fair today, the virtual volunteer service fair today, but now I'm going to discuss with you or give you an overview of how to log volunteer service hours when you work on these projects, when and if you work on these projects in your area that are presented here at the volunteer service fair today. So if you are reporting for, reporting looks a little bit different for virtual projects than it does from place-based projects. So if you're reporting, if you happen to work on and sign up for a project that is truly virtual, you will report your service to that statewide opportunity that's been shared down to all those chapters. So the same one today, the TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair. You'll report your service when working on true virtual projects to that project opportunity. When you report in your logbook entry for the service performed, you're going to enter the title of the virtual service project that's listed in the catalog, and then any other information that you, actions or information that you perform that day that you're reporting. Anything that could be helpful to your hours approver. That's what you report. And then for the virtual service projects, remember to report service project hours. And then and to make sure that you are signed up and pre-approved for that project opportunity, the volunteer service fair. As long as you're signed up and approved and you're able to report to the attending it today, then you should be fine for reporting virtual service hours to this project opportunity later on. So the next thing I'm going to cover is how to report when working on a place-based project that is presented during the virtual volunteer fair over the next 2 days. As I mentioned, the place-based projects will be reported just a little bit differently. For the place-based projects, you'll log your hours under your chapters, the appropriate local chapter opportunity that's previously been set up by your chapter VMS admins. In most cases, these will already exist for your chapter. So the place-based opportunity or the title of that place will already exist within your chapter if it's something that occurs or you're already volunteering for or at within a place you're already volunteering at in the local community. In some cases, there are a couple that are new, these place-based opportunities that your chapter VMS will work on adding to your drop-down and as an approved project for your chapter where needed in your local area. So depending on your region or the state park or nature center that's presented, those opportunities will already exist. And then lastly, a reminder with place-based opportunities is that just check with your chapter VMS admin to ensure that this is a project that is pre-approved for your chapter. And then work with your admins with any questions on things that you don't see. And then when you report your hours, you will report to that place opportunity that's set up. So what that might look like on the volunteer end when you go to report in your drop-down box. So on the left, here on the screen, there is a sample of a place-based service project. So this is kind of the Central Texas area. And the chapter here is using an example from our previous, our fall virtual volunteer fair. So there was Texas stream team testing at Fort Parker State Park. So this is a place-based opportunity that was presented. And so a Central Texas chapter would report, or likely this might be the Hill Country or the Heart of Texas chapter, they would report to that place-based opportunity. On the right side of the screen, you see a sample of how to report for the virtual service projects. One, for attending the virtual service fair today, and then secondly, for attending or contributing to true virtual service projects presented by the fair today and tomorrow, you're going to report to the same opportunity for those two things. And in the drop-down box, it looks like this. The TXMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair, TMN report hours.
Michelle, we're getting close.
Yep. I think that's my last slide.
Okay, awesome. Before I introduce the next speaker, there was one question about noting the ecoregions, and unfortunately we were not able to fit all that information on the agenda, but with the agenda came the catalog, I believe, when it was sent out. So all of the ecoregions are indicated under each project. So sorry we weren't able to. We should, I guess, next time make sure people know that.
I'm trying to drop them into the chat, that information into the chat too, as we go along.
Yes. Yes, so Michelle has been dropping that in the chat when each speaker begins, so you can also note it there as well. But make sure you check out the catalog because the job descriptions actually list everything. And our next speaker is going to be Miss Rebecca Sales. She's going to be talking about Flora and Fauna, a guide to the Chris W. Burkett Service Center demonstration gardens. And Rebecca, are you on with us yet? If you are, go ahead and start. I can't hear you, so unmute yourself.
You're muted.
I'm unmuted, and let me see if I can share my screen. Here we go.
Okay, I'm seeing something.
You're seeing something.
Yes,
Okay, good.
you're on, so go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm Rebecca Sales. I'm the public education specialist for the city of Mansfield. I work for environmental services and also water utilities. And the project I'm going to talk about today is a great one if you're really interested in using your creative skills. I house at the Chris Burkett Service Center, which also houses our water utility department, our streets department. We have an environmental collection center here where we do monthly household hazardous waste drop-off events, but we also have demonstration gardens along the side of our facility that we use for educational opportunities in our Earth Day Mansfield Festival. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I want to just kind of introduce you a little bit to that particular part of our complex. We are a certified wildlife habitat. We have 6 demonstration beds that showcase native and adaptive plants. They're maintained by a volunteer group. Our Mansfield Garden Club comes in and very graciously contributes their work, their sweat equity, and in return, they use our facilities for their monthly meetings and other things that they do. Here's a kind of a looking out from our demonstration garden view toward a retention pond that we also have here that we could showcase as well. You can see we have an outdoor amphitheater there for events and for training. That retention pond is actually a stormwater protection device, and that may actually be part of the guide too if you're interested in extending it that much. But what I am looking for is someone who could create a handout or some type of multi-page brochure or booklet type document that showcases the particular plants that we do have here at the Service Center demonstration gardens. Right now, obviously, we're not doing in-person classes. We're relying on virtual classes that are presented by master gardeners in our area that are willing to do virtual classes for us. When we were doing in-person classes, we would often hand out literature from AgriLife or other places that had plants that were related to the ones here at the gardens, but they weren't necessarily specific to the ones that were here. And what we would like to have is a kind of a simplified handout. It can't be too involved because we're a city and we don't have a lot of budget for printing, but we do want to provide literature for people that attend for free. We don't charge for any of these classes. We don't charge for any materials that we hand out. And so I'm looking again for someone that has some creative skills and also obviously the knowledge of the plants that we have in the gardens and what type of fauna it would attract. I do have a spreadsheet available with all of the plants that we have currently in our gardens, and you can see kind of a little bit of information here on this spreadsheet, what kinds of things I can provide you. I can provide pictures, anything that you need to design this. And so this is kind of something of what I'm thinking. It could be similar to this handout that was used by Texas AgriLife with their You Plant It series. I'm looking for something that's fairly compact but visually attractive, where people can, once they've come to a class, either virtually or in person, eventually we'll get back to those in-person classes, where this could spur their memory about some of the things that they learned about in the class, or even visitors that come. The gardens are open to the public all the time. They can come on their own as well. And if they have any questions, they email me and I could send out this information. But something that's visually attractive where they can spur their memory of what did that plant look like? Oh yeah, I really liked that one when I saw it in the gardens, but I can't remember what it's called. And then information about the plant. Is it an annual? Is it a perennial? What type of wildlife is it going to attract? How big is it going to get? What type of light requirement does it have? That kind of thing. So again, this is just a sample that I found visually attractive that's fairly simple and it would not cost us a whole lot to produce. But you're not limited to this. I want you to use your creative abilities to come up with what would work for our residents and what you think would be visually appealing, visually attractive. I'm thinking anywhere between 2 and 4 volunteers that you could work collaboratively with this. It could be done completely from your home. I'm thinking that we will probably work out of Google to be able to do that through sharing information. The deliverable, I hope, would be completed by mid to early to mid-summer, because I'm hoping by the end of the summer, early fall, we'll be able to do in-person classes again. But if not, I see this as a virtual resource that would still be very, very helpful. As far as location, all the work can be done remotely. I do have a spreadsheet, like I said, that has a lot of information already about our plants, and I can send you pictures and updated pictures of plants if the ones in the spreadsheet don't work. You can work at your own pace. I'm estimating a couple of weeks to get this done, but I'm very, very flexible and very happy to work around your schedule. My goal is just to have some type of document ready for residents to receive in the fall when they attend a virtual class or an in-person class. And that document could be a hard copy that I mail them or give them in person, or it could be something that I could email to them if they're not comfortable coming in person. What type of experience or equipment or advanced training you need to be very comfortable working in some type of design software. So this is going to be appealing to those graphic designers out there who also happen to have knowledge about native and adaptive plants and the animals that they would attract. So you get to combine your skill sets here. And so those creative types out there that would really love to get in there and make a beautiful piece, this is the project for you. I do need you to have some expertise in native and adaptive plants. Also, it would be helpful if you know some things about rainwater harvesting. I recently wrote a grant and we have been able to install a 5,000-gallon cistern that collects rainwater off of our facility roof. And that's that rainwater that we harvest is used to supply the water to these demonstration gardens. And so that's another teach piece. It's brand new for us. We just got that installed recently. And if that could become part of this guide, that would be helpful as well. You can explain a little bit about rainwater harvesting. That would be awesome. And then just your expertise about knowing what type of plants do I need to plant in my garden if I want to attract butterflies or if I want to attract bees, that kind of thing. If you're working collaboratively in Google Drive and you're not familiar with that, then I can provide some training in the use of Google products to be able to share information back and forth if you need. That training would take a very short amount of time, I think a couple of hours at the very most. And that's just a suggestion. If you're working collaboratively, you would not have to work in Google Drive, but I find that a very easy way to share documents and information. And I could train you virtually using Google Meet either in March or April, whatever works for you if you do need that training and you do end up working collaboratively with someone else on this project. Benefits for you. I'm trying to show off a little bit of our beautiful gardens here so you have some idea of what they look like. There's our cistern that we just recently added to showcase that you can harvest water and water these beautiful plants. And here's some of the specimens we have. Benefits for you. You get to be creative while sharing your knowledge. In the past, pre-COVID again, our residents loved coming here to learn about plants and gardening. We have We had regularly scheduled in-person gardening classes that adults came to, and those were hosted by me, but taught by master gardeners in the area. But we also had a lot of family-friendly events where kids came out as well. And so you get to help our residents learn. Your document would help them apply what they learned, whether it's virtual or in person, either one. And you could be providing education and outreach, even if we can't resume those in-class learning opportunities. I see I'm running short on time. You will also be creating the very first ever teaching supplement that's directly tied to our demonstration garden. So I see that as something you could be really proud of. Here's my contact information. I will answer phone calls or emails, either one, but I would love to be able to work with a couple of you on producing a document like this. And if you have any questions, this is a time to ask those. We hope very much to be able to be doing in-person events again, like this particular class. It was led by Dottie Woodson, who is a local celebrity, and many of you possibly know who Dottie Woodson is already. She was doing an irrigation class for us here. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't see any, Rebecca. Thank you so much for your presentation. And if there are any specifics to your project, then please contact Rebecca directly. With that, I'm going to go ahead and, if you will, unshare your screen, and I will introduce our next speaker, who is going to be Brent Wilkins, and he's going to be talking about virtual interpretive videos for his project. And thank you again, Rebecca. That was wonderful.
Brent, you have permission to share now and unmute.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. We
Can you hear us?
Are you able to share your screen?
Yes, we'll go ahead and get our screen sharing right here.
Okay, it is coming up. And we see it. You may want to go ahead and put it in full PowerPoint mode.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Go.
So thank you so much for inviting us to participate in this virtual fair today. And also thank you to all the Master Naturalists for tuning in. We're presenting from Jesse H. Jones Park and Nature Center. We're located here in Humble, Texas, which is just outside of Houston. We're in Harris County. And my name is Brent Wilkins. I'm the volunteer coordinator. And this is Alicia Mine Johnson. She's our outreach coordinator. And just a little bit about us. I've been working as a volunteer or with volunteers or as a volunteer coordinator for 18 years now. And Alicia, do you?
And I was a public school teacher before I came to work here at the park. So we're so happy to have all of you volunteers with us today.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Use the arrow key. There we go.
There we go.
Whoops, almost. You never know with these county computers. All right, so we want to know just a little bit about you, if you don't mind. Let's take a quick break. Go to the chat, and we'd love to know this morning, who are you, and which bird are you most likely to identify with this morning? As you can see behind me, we have some very interesting artwork on our conference room wall. And so I'd love to know from you, which bird are you most identifying with? And full disclosure, I'm definitely the osprey this morning. I have a lot of projects going on. So I'm an osprey. Brent, what are you this morning?
I don't know, probably a pigeon.
A pigeon. We don't even have a pigeon on the screen, but we have one behind us. All right, so I see a lot of interesting, yeah, seizing the day like an osprey. That's a really great comment. Don't we all wish we were as pretty as the warbler? I know. I think that's actually a scarlet tanager for all my birders out there. All right, well, thanks for sharing. Okay, Brent's going to tell you a little bit about our project.
All right. So I mentioned our park. We're located here in Humble, just outside of Houston. We're a 300-acre park, small park, but we have a pretty big impact in the community. In fact, if you were to pull up Harris County on Google Maps, you would see a whole lot of concrete and then a couple of green patches in the whole county, and we're one of them. We have a pretty big influence on protecting the riparian area along Spring Creek, and also providing a lot of education programs to the public. You can see, kind of get an idea of some of the things we have going on here. Lots of recreation, biking, hiking, fishing, education programs. We're really unique in that not only are we a nature park, but we also have a replica 1830s pioneer homestead here that has been kind of a staple of the park for many years. And we have a great group of volunteers that come out and dress up and share their pioneer knowledge with the public through tours and monthly programs in our festivals. So we have a lot going on here. We're really unique, and we hope that you will consider volunteering with us. So some of the things that our volunteers do is, like I mentioned, our on-site conservation programs and education programs, lots of habitat management, natural history, and living history programs. But something new that we're getting started, and kind of what the pandemic has shown us, is the benefit of online digital content. When our programs were on hold for a few months, we started making videos and putting them on the park's Facebook page, and viewership increased dramatically. I think just one of our video series had 20,000 views, so a lot more than we would see in person. So the Jesse Jones Park volunteers have realized this, and we recently started a new, and we're working on a YouTube channel, and we're hoping to recruit some people to help us with virtual content. So just a little more details about our in-person volunteer opportunities. You can see there we have weekday, monthly, quarterly, and annual events, but also our virtual programs we're working on vamping up. And these can be done anywhere from Texas or beyond. So you don't necessarily have to live nearby and come to the park. You can do these from home. The topics that we're interested in would be ecology of the Southeast Texas region where we're at, Texas pioneer history, or just general environmental topics. And so this is our timeline. It's a new project, but it's ongoing. So there'll be plenty of need for volunteers to help with this for the foreseeable future. For those that still want to come in person, if you live in the area, we provide all the training and tools needed for our on-site programs. If you're interested in some of our education programs, it would be useful if you had some experience with interpretation, but not required. We're always welcoming new people, and we'll train you. As far as our virtual content goes, basically you just need a computer, a camera, and if you have some experience editing, that would be good. If not, then we can help you with editing the videos. And if you don't actually have, if you are more experienced with editing and not so much with making content, we can actually send you videos that other volunteers have recorded to help us edit them. So if that's your specialty, then we could certainly use your help as well.
All right, so why Jesse Jones Park? Well, we are at as you can see, there are about 8 million people in the Gulf Coast region. So we have a unique and very large audience that we would love to be able to assist with our digital content. We also have lots of different ecosystems here. There's a creek down the street. We've got the big thicket, sandy prairies. We got all sorts of ecosystems happening here. So it's pretty fun. Not only is this a unique project with our pioneer history, but we're very flexible and try to help you to help us. And so here's Brent and I's contact information and the number at the park. Somebody is always sitting on that phone, so you are happy to call us anytime and reach out if you have any further questions. And I'd love to see if there's any questions that you might have in the chat. So let me turn this off.
Thank you, guys. That was amazing. That's a beautiful place. There is one question that I see. How did they manage to protect all that wonderful land, and how long has the park been around?
So our park started, I think, with just like 100 acres in 1988, I believe. It was in the 80s. And slowly we've grown to 300 acres now. And we have a great group of, we have a full-time park forester and several groundskeepers, and then also our natural staff. We have a total of about 15 park employees. Our most of our labor comes from volunteers. Actually, we have about 200 volunteers in our system, but we also have groups that come out. Some of them come out quarterly for our adopted trail. Others come out annually or monthly. So we have about 10,000 hours of volunteer service a year, and a lot of that is helping with our habitat management. So it's really, it takes a village to get it all done. Yeah, so that's how we do it. It's a work in progress.
Thank you, Brent. That's awesome. Well, we don't have any other questions, and it is time to move on to the next speaker. So again, thank you both for a beautiful presentation and sharing your project with us.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting us.
Yes. Our next speaker is going to be Emily Gerngross, German name, and she's going to be speaking on requests for social media content. So I see you're up, Emily, so go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
All right, great, thanks. Yes, so my name is Emily Gerngross. I am from Newton County. I'm a county extension agent, agriculture and natural resources. So today I just wanted to put forth a request to the master naturalist, for social media content to kind of highlight the flora and fauna or the different natural resources of our region of Southeast Texas. So social media is becoming a really key player in how we disseminate information to our local community members, especially with COVID and not being able to have as many in-person programs and things like that. Also, as an agriculture and natural resources agent, although natural resources is a part of our job title, we are often more trained in conventional agriculture, so row crops, cattle production, hay, that sort of thing. And we don't have as much experience in natural resources or how to promote or kind of highlight some of the things that maybe our regions offer in that sense. So social media posts like on Facebook, those can be shared really easily. They have the ability to reach a large audience. So just some of the insights from past posts that we've made, an average one has the ability to reach 500 plus people if it's something really popular or engaging. I've had it reach 14,000 people. So it just kind of depends, but there is that kind of ability to reach a large number of people. I mentioned flora and fauna, but it could, depending on the volunteer base, be anything that they're really interested in highlighting. So wildlife, birds, fungi, just anything like that that would be kind of specific to our region of Southeast Texas and what we have to offer. So where is Newton County? If you are not from Southeast Texas, you may have never heard of us. We are the easternmost county in Texas, about 940 square miles and about 14,000 people total. So that puts us at a really low population density. Towards the north end of the county, we have the Toledo Bend Reservoir, and then the Sabine River creates the easternmost county border and state border between Louisiana. With kind of our area, we have a lot of recreational fishing, hunting, that sort of thing, other outdoor activities. But something interesting or different, I guess, about Newton County is that we have a very large timber industry. So 940 square miles, lots of open land, but a large portion of it is owned by private timber companies. So we don't have a lot of state parks or different things like that, where the public actually kind of has the opportunity, unless they live on large tracts of lands, there's maybe not as much opportunity for them to experience, some of those different kind of parks and things like that. We did used to have something called Wild Azalea Canyons, which was kind of a trail natural resource area, but we are in an area that is hit pretty heavily by hurricanes and other natural disasters. So I think in 2016, 17, and 19, a large portion of our county flooded. So that has changed the look, I guess, of our county in a lot of different ways. We lost the canyons due to just some physical damage and things like that, where it was unable to recover from past hurricanes. So we no longer have that place or that exposure to draw people in, or even for our local community members or people to go to. So the project expectations, a series of educational posts, photos if possible. If it's less than 500 words, then those can be shared in our print sources, so like newspapers, things like that. And the amount of posts could vary. An initial idea was like one post a month that we could share on Facebook or social media, and then in the newspaper if that fit as well. How many volunteers? Again, this is the first time I've requested something like this or done anything, so I am open and just kind of, interested to see what happens. So one volunteer could do a post every month. If we had 5 to 10 volunteers, that could be split up. If there were 12 or more, one post a month. It just kind of varies, I guess. The expectations, again, all virtual. There wouldn't be any need to physically come to the area unless you needed or wanted to. If it were things like photos of plants or different kind of samples or things like that I could take, I'd be more than happy to do that to assist in fulfilling whatever needs that the volunteer had. Again, we could correspond throughout just to make sure that we're on the same page as far as what the expectations were of the pieces and things like that. Hours commitment, I said 5 hours a month, possibly, depending on if the volunteer has kind of a knowledge base of this area, or if they need to, do some further digging and research kind of into what we have to offer. Again, flexible, a piece per month, educational piece would be ideal to share. And again, depending on the number of volunteers, once that was established, we could put forth a due date and all that kind of stuff. Equipment or experience supplies, internet, phone, computer, email, just all those basic things that would go along with a virtual project. The Master Naturalist training and education would be, I think, sufficient, no additional training. And then the ability to write or produce educational pieces, if there's any experience in that, obviously that would be helpful. And just remembering the expectations of Extension and the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Network, as far as what we're advertising and making sure that the pieces that we produce and what we provide are, applicable to a large audience, and don't discriminate or target one product or certain things like that over others. So again, no advanced training, and I could also send example pieces or things kind of that I had in mind as we got to that point. So how does this help Newton County? It obviously gives more exposure to the extension program. If it's an engaging piece that reaches lots of folks, it highlights the Master Naturalist program. For the volunteer, of course, there is the potential to have, a published educational piece, and then it's a completely virtual project with flexible deadlines. So if you didn't have the ability to get out and do physical volunteering, this is a great opportunity. And how are you helping? Just engagement, reaching larger audiences, producing high quality educational pieces for Texans, which is one of our main goals. So what would you be accomplishing? Again, just increasing the exposure to the natural resources found in Newton County, educating our stakeholders, providing relevant, interesting information, teaching them about conservation techniques. Again, in the timber industry, how things that they can do on their own if they are landowners towards conservation, preservation, that sort of thing. And as a volunteer, it would give you, again, the experience in writing educational pieces, a broader knowledge of differing Texas landscapes, and a great personal fulfillment knowing that you're helping a busy county extension agent kind of create some educational content for Texans. So here's my contact information, phone, email, either one is a great way to reach me. So yeah, if there's any questions, anything like that.
Thank you so much, Emily. And I can't understate how much or overstate how much this social media outreach is important to reaching our various audiences. I don't see any questions per se.
Okay.
Let's see. There is a statement. I don't know if that relates. Paul Rowling has taken lots of photo of Jesse Jones plants. Are they online?
Previous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay.
But
Sorry.
I want to put a plug in. Emily is a busy county extension agent. I do want to put a plug in that while your project is very specific to your area and highlighting the diverse needs of Newton County and surrounding county areas, there are plenty of other county extension agents as well across the state who probably have very similar needs. So for our master naturalist, please think about reaching out to your local county extension agent. They're in the same boat as Emily and looking for opportunities to reach their broad audience as well. Not taken away from you, Emily, because y'all have a
No.
location.
Please, they would. We would all appreciate it the same.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna move on, Judith.
Yes. So our next speaker, thank you again, Emily, for sharing that. Our next speaker is going to be Christina Stevens on Three Rivers Foundation Biodiversity and Educational Assistance that she is asking for. And I see you, Christina, but I don't see your screen yet. So if you would, go ahead and share your screen. And you can go ahead and unmute yourself as well, Christina, if you need to speak to us.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So I'm not sure if all of my video portion is going to show up on this, but here we go.
Okay, I don't see your screen yet.
You see my screen?
I do not. I do not.
Okay. What am I doing wrong? We did that. We went through this.
Yes, ma'am. You should have the presenter rights now, and on the bottom of your WebEx window, you should see the share button.
Yeah.
And you should be able to share and select either which screen or which program you want to share.
Okay, I think I see it coming up. Yes.
Yeah.
So go ahead and just expand your PowerPoint, and then we should be good to go.
There.
Very good. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, good morning, Texas Master Naturalist. I'm Christina Stevens with Three Rivers Foundation. So Three Rivers Foundation, it used to be all about the stars. And then in 2015, I started a long-term biodiversity project to monitor the flora and fauna on the 700-acre campus. So far, unbelievably, I've collected over 600,000 camera trap images and hundreds of on-site field photos. And each photo documents the biological diversity of our now 3,200 acres. So what I'm actually needing help with this biodiversity and educational assistance is creating bio ID sheets of the plants and the animals, helping create story maps, actually helping create field guides for this area, and creating bird lists, as well as renaming some camera trap photos and uploading photos to iNaturalist. So what are the project outcomes I'm hoping for? What you see here is a variety of educational materials that I have collected over the years. These are valuable, what I consider valuable examples of educational resources. While tech is great, having materials in hand enriches minds better and helps make better connections and enhances our learning. Not only with the paper part of this project needs tech people who can add materials to a website, create online pages like that awesome Minnesota bird call page, and maybe a biodiversity app for 3RF. This project also needs translators, it needs some chemists, and it needs some historians. I want to add as much science and history to these projects as I can that are aligned with TEKS, but also have the interpretive element of making nature relevant to the visitors and the students who visit 3RF. One of the other major things, I have an awesome Texas Master Naturalist volunteer at the moment who has been uploading my observations to iNet for me. Getting all of my research photos onto iNet will prove the valuableness of my ongoing research here at Three Rivers Foundation. So what are the project logistics? Well, I'm expecting, I would love to have at least 10 to 20 volunteers. My expectations, I'm only a person of one. So I need all the assistance I can get to help me get all these projects together to create these final projects. The location would be in your home with most definitely the opportunity to stay and visit our campus later this year. How often should you be available? About once a week with a time commitment goal of at least 5 to 10 hours a week. And basically, you can also have unlimited volunteer hours. The hours are always flexible. And for some of these projects, I would love to have a deadline of at least by August 1st of this year. So when it comes to the experience, the equipment, and any advanced training, first of all, oh my gosh, you have to have a love of animals, plants, and nature. You also need to be kind of good with Microsoft Word and Excel. I need volunteers that are good with Adobe software. And I also need volunteers that are good with website building. And overall, what I'm wanting is a knowledge of using primary research materials. While the internet is often a great source for information, what I'm needing for these educational materials is the information gleaned from from like books, journal articles, and other printed materials. So any equipment that you need would be like your personal computer, books, internet, and software. There's really not much advanced training that would go with this. I would be doing the templates for the volunteers to go by. But one other thing I wanted to point out is that there will be later this year tons of advanced training opportunities for the volunteers that help with this project at our site. So what are the benefits of this for you? So I kind of cheated a little bit, but not really cheated. So from the words of a master naturalist who has been helping me, she says it best. As a master naturalist, she has noticed if she doesn't get out there and explore the biodiversity of Texas, then she lags behind in understanding the health of the environment. And this project has helped her be a part of seeing and understanding what is out there. This project is needed to document and bring a historical perspective of species living in Texas. Naturalists of our past who roamed Texas took detailed notes of species observed and left us a glimpse of what Texas was in the past, but over time, these documentations have decreased, leaving data gaps. As land stewards, it is our obligation to document species and how we affect them over time. Three Rivers Foundation, as well as Texas Master Naturalists, are both dedicated to healthy management of Texas natural resources. Because Texas lands are mostly on private property, the biodiversity documentation is readily not shared. So this is a unique opportunity to explore private land area and its data. As a volunteer, her knowledge has expanded of plants and animals, and it has allowed her to have a hands-on experience as a naturalist. For example, in the photo that you see on your screen, when taking photos of this dotted gay feather on our campus, I happened to notice this tiny butterfly resting on it. Neither of us had seen it ever before, and we didn't realize that something this beautiful and quaint could actually exist. As she was looking at it, I mean, we were both looking right at it, but until she stopped to look closer and notice the details, she would have never seen this majestic creature. And by knowing this species is there, it gives us not only a sense of the wonder of nature, but documents that this creature exists at this place in time and allows us to see the connections made in the ecosystem so we can continue to protect and conserve even the tiniest of creatures here in Texas. So I would welcome any of your questions, interest. You may email me at the email address below. And
Christina, there is a question. They were just wanting to know your exact location.
so our exact location, so Comanche Springs Astronomy Campus is actually located in Ford County. We are about 10 miles west of Kroll, Texas, and Kroll, Texas is right below Quanah, Texas, and it is about, 30 miles from Vernon, Texas.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your presentation, Christina. And I totally agree. Having images is a great way to learn about wildlife and plants when you get to see the detail in those images, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, which is Rachel Powers, and she's going to be presenting her project on Nature Notes contributor. And Rachel, I believe if you're
okay,
that you're there, yes, ma'am. And Christina, if you can, I think, yeah, we're good to go. Rachel Powers is starting to load up. Very good. I'm not seeing your screen quite yet.
okay. I had it all, and I think everything went to sleep.
I see you.
Okay.
Look at the bottom. Do you see a share screen by chance?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just click on that and okay, I think it's starting to load up, and it is. So if you want to go ahead and expand it to a PowerPoint, the screen option.
Okay, and it's thinking.
Yes, it is thinking.
So while it's thinking,
cat time. You're
it didn't start at the beginning.
Okay, so go ahead and get started when you're ready.
So my name is Rachel Powers. I'm with the Citizens Environmental Coalition, which is a 50-year-old alliance of environmental organizations in the Houston Gulf Coast region. And we've been, we work to connect the environmental community in the Houston region. So we have, I don't know how many social media channels, about 10, I think, for Earth Day Houston, our Green Film Festival and environmental education site, and then our main channels on social media. And one of the things we would really like to do, after working with stakeholders, they've asked to have periodic posts on social media about nature, what to look for now. So seasonal, natural observations. And so I think this would be a great project for master naturalists. So what we're hoping for is a weekly blog or social media post on what to look for and listen for in nature. So we're hoping volunteers will be able to identify local things, plants, animals, phenomena that are of interest and that are seasonal and that readers can look for, and also how to look for them. So for example, right now, the redbuds are starting to come out and the maples, the red maples are starting to come out. So that might be something to look for, or great horned owls are nesting now. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. So we're hoping volunteers will be able to write an engaging description and find or create a photograph or illustration or sound recording, and then schedule the posts. And we are certainly open to, if we have one volunteer working on this, reaching out to guest writers to provide that content. I'm hoping that perhaps we can get a handful of volunteers who can work together on this. So, and if we're successful and if we have enough volunteers, we might be able to expand it to other topics related to master naturalists and nature in the Houston region. So it could be places to visit, environmental history, sky's the limit. So that's what we're looking for. And again, we're hoping to have something weekly. This is going to be a new endeavor, so I am looking for volunteers who are willing and comfortable with working in a not entirely defined place and starting something from scratch. So I'll definitely be working with you, but if we really are looking for somebody who's comfortable with starting something and then making it great. I saw a question, what is the Houston region? So it's the 13 county region surrounding Houston. It goes up to Huntsville, out to, I forget, within about 2 hours of Houston. Let's see. So hopefully CEC's audience will become more familiar with natural resources in the Houston region and will care even more about nature and natural places. And another outcome that we're hoping for is that more people will be attracted to the CEC website, our newsletter, and social media. And because we've got a larger reach, more people will know about what the CEC is doing, what its member organizations are doing, and more about nature in the region. So aspirationally, I mean, my initial goal is to do this for a year. What I would really like to do is be able to create a team that works together and makes the program self-sustaining, so it will last beyond just 1 year. So logistically, like I said, one person, a dedicated person, could probably do this alone. It would be a lot of work. I think this would be a great team endeavor. So I am looking for multiple volunteers. This is a virtual effort. A lot of photos are available online, and we always need pictures. But if volunteers wish to go out into the field to take photos or video or record sounds, that's probably the part that wouldn't be virtual, but it can be done alone and socially distanced. And hopefully once we're done with all of that, it could be something that's done together. And I anticipate it'll take about 4 hours a week to create a post. The first few will probably take a little bit longer, but it's something, as you practice, you'll get better at it. And the schedule is really based on volunteer availability. If you want to work at 4 a.m. on Sunday, you're welcome to do that. It's not going to interfere with my work. And if it gets done, whenever you want to do it is great. So I'm hoping to start in March or April, and I'm hoping for a 1-year commitment. And we are looking for a consistent schedule for the post, but like I said, anytime you want to work is when you can work. Hopefully though, we'll probably start off with weekly meetings just to check in. And that would probably be during the week, during normal working hours, but I'm pretty flexible. I work evenings and weekends on a regular basis. So I will definitely work to accommodate your schedule. In terms of experience, equipment, and advanced training, I am looking for somebody with strong writing skills, or people with strong writing skills. And I would prefer people who are familiar with local and seasonal nature. Hopefully people who have a good eye for photography and can identify images that are engaging. And familiarity with social media is a bonus, but I can teach that. And in terms of training, we will provide our standard volunteer orientation, which is 3 to 6 hours, and it's self-paced and online. And then we will also provide specific training about how we use social media, kind of tone and visual identity and things like that. But it's not onerous or extensive. So the benefits, fame and glory, you'll be famous. We have a social media reach of over 10,000 people right now. So you'll be able to reach out to a lot of people and hopefully grow that number. So the more you do, the more famous you'll become. And it's also fun to just keep in touch with what's going around you. If you're really intentional about looking for things that are emerging or arriving or departing, it just makes you feel a lot more connected with what's going on. And the thought of being able to help other people feel that connection, I think would be incredible. So that it will also help expand CEC's audience. And if we're able to do that, we'll be able to highlight the work of master naturalists and do a better job of telling the community about events that are happening in the Houston region, not just CEC's events, but those of our member organizations. So I think this aligns directly with the Master Naturalist mission, which hopes to provide education, outreach, and service dedicated to the beneficial management of natural resources in natural areas within their communities for the state of Texas. So it's definitely tied into the Master Naturalist mission and also to CEC's mission of connecting our environmental community. So with that, can reach out to me directly, and that's my cell number, so you can text that number as well. And I don't know if anybody has questions at this point.
I don't see any. You did answer the one question about the Houston region. So thank you so much, Rachel, for introducing your project. And I love the fact that you mentioned that you were willing to teach people. So that's one great way for master naturalists to learn the subject matter, is when you have someone willing to share all of their knowledge. So hopefully you'll get a lot of interested volunteers participating in your project.
I hope so.
Again, thank you so much. And with that, we are going to go into break for 10 minutes, and we will all be returning at 11. There will be some information on the screen for those of you that may be joining us.
I have one question for Rachel.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
What is the preferred word count, Rachel?
So that's a good question. I expect that we probably want up to 200 word start to the post, and then it can get longer depending on the interest of the volunteer, how much information it takes to present the information. So
okay,
they could be short posts with a great picture, or they could be much longer posts. I'm happy with either or both.
Again, thank you so much, Rachel.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we will be back in 10 minutes.
Ermi, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We've got a few more minutes, but I just wanted to make sure that you were connected and ready to kick us off right at 11.
I am ready.
Okay. All right. Here in just a little bit, I'm going to share the presenter rights over to you. And then when Judith lets us know the time, we'll get you started.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ermi. We've got a few seconds before we get started. So if you want to go ahead and look at the bottom of your screen, hopefully Mary Pearl has shared with you. It looks like you're coming up, possibly.
Okay, yes, I am. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and get it up.
Here we go.
We've got a few more seconds.
Right, and I'm going to go ahead and start it as slideshow.
Yes, ma'am. So Ermi Wilcoxon is going to be presenting on butterfly monitoring. So if you want to go ahead and get started, go ahead. Thank you so much.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Ermi Wilcoxon. I am with the Gulf Coast chapter of the Texas Master Naturalists, and I am also the butterfly monitoring lead for Texas. So I'm looking for a few more folks to join us doing butterfly monitoring. So let me tell you all about it. First of all, butterflies occur in all habitats of Texas. If you have gone outside, you've seen a butterfly at some point in your life. Monitoring the occurrence and abundance of butterflies in different areas informs conservation efforts by landowners, whether they are private landowners or public entities such as local parks departments or folks like the Nature Conservancy. Butterfly monitoring involves traveling, and I call it traveling because I want to acknowledge that not everybody will be walking. If you have an accessible path, rolling down the path is perfectly acceptable. Over a predetermined route, 8 to 10 times per year to count and try to identify the adult butterflies using each habitat. The major outcome that we're expecting here is that the data will be usable by multiple stakeholders to improve butterfly habitat. The only way we know what butterflies are doing is by actually looking. And butterfly monitoring is a very organized, yet easy to understand way to actually do the looking that can inform policy. Project logistics. I'm looking for 20 to 30 volunteers. I would like each person who volunteers to traverse their route 8 to 10 times per year, taking between 30 minutes and 2 hours each time. This can be done at any natural location close to the volunteer's home base, and I call it home base because some people are working in a particular place or they're living in a particular place, or some folks may have a home, a second home in another location where they would like to monitor. Ideally, it'll be twice a month, roughly March through November. Butterflies tend to fly when it is 70 and above, between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., and low wind, along with sunny weather. So it depends on location. Some places in Texas in March, it'll be still too very cold to monitor for butterflies. Whereas down here where we are in Houston, I have monitored as late as December. I expect roughly 12 hours a year. Monitoring should be split about evenly throughout the warm months, about 2 hours per month, on your own schedule. This is an ongoing project that has no end date. As background, butterfly monitoring is being done by a number of states, some that have over 15 years of data at this point for various locations, and hundreds of volunteers. Texas is a relative newcomer. The program has been running for about 4 years, originally started by the lepidopterist at the Houston Museum of Natural Science. And when she went to Colorado, I volunteered to take over that project. So what kind of experience do you need? What kind of advanced training? What equipment? Notice the equipment is very, very minimal. A butterfly guide, field guide appropriate to your area. A camera, that's optional, but I carry my phone with me and that's perfectly adequate for taking pictures. Sometimes that helps in identification. A clipboard and a pen, along with the monitoring form. Advanced training will include a basic overview of the project, how to monitor, and entering data into what's called Pollard base. It's a very, very simple way of entering data that is that I learned very quickly. I expect that advanced training will take about 1.5 hours, scheduled around the end of February, early March. I will be doing this over the internet and offering it multiple times as volunteers sign up and as a group of volunteers identifies a particular time they would like to do this. I'd also like to record it so that it is available for volunteers to watch on their own time, and then they can approach me with questions and, you know, show me their first round of monitoring so that we can agree on what's working and what's not working yet. Benefits for you. You want to choose butterfly monitoring because, let's face it, these days, being able to do it by yourself is a great advantage. You can also have at most one other person with you. You get to stay home in bad weather because butterflies don't fly when it's raining or too windy either. You walk, roll at a slow pace, only bending down to take pictures. So it's more like an organized walk rather than a physically demanding thing. The route, the day, and time of day is up to you. You will learn to identify common and not so common species. You'll be surprised when you see a species you've not seen before, and I've had that delightful surprise several times, even on the same route that I have walked. I saw a comment coming in as to what is a route. A route preferably is a circle, oval, whatever, where you visit each location once. It is around a natural area, or at least an area that has some natural features. Ideally, it has a path, whether that is paved or crushed granite or simply a mowed path. That means that you can actually walk it routinely and walk the same place routinely. And ideally, it is accessible to the volunteer throughout the summer months. And how does this fit into our mission? As Texas Master Naturalists, part of our mission is to provide service dedicated to the beneficial management of natural resources and natural areas within our communities for the state of Texas. And so butterfly monitoring meets that mission very nicely because it requires us to actually look at butterflies and how they use their habitats, which then in turn can help inform conservation policy, even encourage groups to, say, plant butterfly gardens in areas where there are few to encourage more butterflies. So my contact information is here. My name is Ermi Wilcoxon. The email that I would like to use is butterflymonitorsTexas@gmail.com. And you have my phone number. This is a cell phone, and you are welcome to text me. I have included a picture here just to give you a sense of what is an acceptable photo. This is by no means a great picture. However, this was sufficient for me to be able to identify the butterfly later, putting it into iNaturalist. Of course, Bug Guide is also useful. So questions. I saw a bunch of questions come in. Judith, can you help me with that?
Yes, ma'am. You have a little less, you have about a little over a minute. Let's see, is there a minimum number of sites that must be monitored?
No, I would love to have multiple sites monitored, but right now we have maybe a handful that are being monitored not so regularly.
Okay. And you mentioned that they should walk the same route. Does it matter the time of day? Should it be the same time of day?
No, it should not be the same time of day. It can be any time between 10 and 4, although when it gets really, really hot, sometimes volunteers choose to go out a little earlier or stay out a little later because butterflies are also less active in the extreme heat.
Okay. And who will be using this data and how do they access it?
So who is using this data, it depends really on who asks. Pollard Base is run out of a university, and they would be approaching the owners of Pollard Base or the curators of Pollard Base to access the data. Similar to iNaturalist, except iNaturalist, anybody can access the data. In Pollard Base, they would have to be given access to the back end.
Okay. And can several volunteers monitor a single route, or would you prefer just one per route?
I would prefer one per route. Just for consistency's sake.
Okay.
But you can certainly have a partner in your monitoring.
And is caterpillar monitoring also required?
No, absolutely not. This is designed exclusively for adults. So although you can put in the notes that you saw caterpillars, you're monitoring only for adults flying.
Okay. And I think the last one is they live in Williamson County but have access to a great site in Blanco County. Could they do more than one site?
Absolutely. As long as you're willing to walk both sides, I am happy to have you.
Okay. And will they be monitoring moths?
No, we will not be monitoring moth, and it's actually important to distinguish between moths and butterflies when monitoring, and we'll go over that in AT.
Okay. And then since Urmi, you are going to be presenting next, I'll just go ahead and ask this next question. Why does the data not go directly into iNaturalist if that's where it winds up eventually?
It does not wind up there eventually. So iNaturalist is great for detecting presence. Pollard Base is more broadly designed to detect presence and absence, which is really important. So for example, monitoring a route and seeing no butterflies would result in absolutely nothing in iNaturalist, and would result in a database entry in Pollard Base, which would then inform people that, hey, during this day and time, under these conditions, we didn't see anything.
Okay.
Which is for scientific data is absolutely important. So absence is as well as presence is critical.
Very good. You do have one more question from Natalie Wolfrey, and I'm going to have you, if you wouldn't mind, answer that in the chat after your next presentation, Urmi, so we just stay on time. So if you'll go ahead and upload your next presentation, which is going to be
already there.
Oh, awesome. Monitoring the coordinator. Go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. So with all of these new volunteers that I'm hoping to recruit, I also need a co-coordinator because right now I'm handling this entirely by myself. So the position description for this one is that the co-coordinator makes the butterfly monitoring program possible by entering new routes into Pollard Base, the National Butterfly Monitoring Database, assisting in developing training for new volunteers, and potentially providing this training to new volunteers, especially related to database use. This position can be accomplished completely online. No face-to-face interaction is required. So I'm looking for 1 to 2 volunteers. I'm looking for someone who's more technically savvy than butterfly savvy. You must have a computer with internet access. You must be able to do video conferencing with me or with volunteers using Zoom, WebEx, or a similar program. It would be lovely if you have a very basic familiarity with databases, kind of the idea of fields and records and entries. A willingness to explore the software and ask for help if you need it. There are a number of programs in the country that are running this very successfully that have experience with Pollard Base, and so it would be great to reach out to those people if you have any issues or questions. And also the ability to create or revise instructions for volunteers to use the database. This would be part of the annual training. It would also go out to experienced volunteers if there are changes in the database. Time commitment, I'm expecting up to 20 hours a year. It's likely that this will be more front-loaded. In other words, I'm expecting to get hopefully some influx of volunteers March through May. And so it will be important to reach out to those volunteers and get them started in the database and kind of get them going. It is very flexible schedule. It is up to you as to when you accomplish the tasks. But we do need to be responsive to volunteers. In other words, you know, if you can devote some time every week or certainly every 2 weeks would be ideal. Knowledge of butterflies is absolutely not necessary. You're handling the database aspect of things, creating routes, making sure that the entries are reasonable. And I'll certainly be involved with that as well. What are the benefits for you? You get to log volunteer hours. And really it's weather independent and really on your schedule. You are integral in supporting citizen science. It is very difficult for me to handle both the volunteer aspect and the database aspect, and that has limited the growth of the program up until now. So it's really important to have this support function as well. And you get to interact with master naturalists from around the state. I think that's really pretty cool. For Texas and master naturalists, monitoring allows for conservation, supported by science, and you are going to be integral in providing data to stakeholders. Again, here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me, and Judith can help me with any questions that came up in chat.
Thank you so much, Ermi. There was, let's see, are there any requirements as to what kind of location can be a route? This was actually kind of related to the previous talk.
Sure.
Are there any requirements as to what kind of location can be a route? Must it be a public land? Must it be a nature park? Or can it be a rural road?
So the only requirement is that you, as the volunteer, have access. If it is your land and you have access to it, more power to you. That is certainly acceptable. Roads, certainly acceptable. It does not have to be a natural area. It should have some natural components. So, for example, I live in the city. Many city parks don't have really much any nature. They're all mowed. But there are many other city parks that have some natural borders, that have a butterfly garden or some edge areas, and that could certainly be used for monitoring, yes.
And you had mentioned that it should be in a circle versus a straight line?
Well, for efficiency's sake, it is better to be in a circle because you're supposed to monitor each area only once during your walk. So if you're doing an in and out, you're essentially monitoring one direction and then walking back and enjoying nature the other direction.
Very good. And this relates to your current presentation. The database, is it accessible online?
Absolutely. That's how I get to it.
Okay. And another person asked, I have access to 10 acres of natural area. Should that be just one route? Or can she create multiple circular routes within her 10-acre natural area?
You can create multiple routes. It really depends on how long it takes you to walk. The minimum we're suggesting is 30 minutes, the maximum 2 hours. And you want to think about this because in the heat of summer, you might not want to walk a 2-hour long route. So breaking it up is certainly acceptable.
Okay. And Michelle Haggerty just wanted to make sure everyone knows that if you're working with ERMI and conducting a route on your own property, that the Texas Master Naturalists will need to follow the citizen science community science guidelines that they have for the Texas Master Naturalist program.
Fantastic, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions. Thank you so much, ERMI. We appreciate both of your presentations this morning. It sounds exciting.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
And with that, if you'll stop sharing, we do have about a minute and a half before our next presenter. And that is going to be Melissa Felty Alderson. So if she is on, I see you, Melissa. So if
Melissa,
you'll be getting
pass the rights to you.
Okay, I see your presentation.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and put it in PowerPoint mode or screen mode. Okay.
Is it up and ready?
Yes, ma'am. If you'll just wait 1 minute, please, and I'll let you know when we're ready. Okay. Our next speaker is going to be Melissa Felty, and she's going to be speaking about a project titled Texas Aquatic Science Video and Ebook Production. So whenever you're ready, Melissa, go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me and all the work that all the Master Naturalists are doing. So this is going to be for the Texas Aquatic Science. It is a middle school, high school curriculum. And for the project, it's really important because Texas and teachers and educators are sometimes just thrown into having to teach aquatic science. So they may not have the confidence and the knowledge to teach the aquatic science activities, which many of the Master Naturalists do feel comfortable doing so. This project will support fellow educators to teach students about the precious resource of water. I'll hold this. Somebody said, I saw a check come through. Is that better? Somebody said that they may not be able to hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. And so for the final products, it will be to produce a Texas Aquatic Science activity videos, and this can be done in somebody's backyard or a local natural area if water is needed. And a second project as well is to create Texas Aquatic Science Teacher Guide chapter books, and that's updated with using the newly updated content. Now for the final outcomes, and I know these numbers are huge, but this is just in total what we have. So final products would be 64 videos. So we have 64 Texas Aquatic Science activities, and each of them would just need to be about 5 to 20 minutes long, and then 14 ebooks. And so we are looking at each Texas Aquatic Science Teacher Guide chapter having an ebook. So those are just examples of what we're looking for, the pictures. The logistics for the videos is we're looking for about 5 to 15 volunteers, just because there are so many videos. The location could be home or local natural area. Availability it varies. If you want to just do one video, if you want to do 10 videos. So that's why the availability really does vary. The flexibility and time commitment as well. For the videos, if you're like, hey, I want to do this, you can start tomorrow. The reason why is because you can just use your phone and submit that as well. It's an average 2 hours if you wanted to research the background information, up to 2 days to do filming and editing if you wanted to make a formal video. The completion is ongoing for posting. So starting tomorrow, starting this evening, if you wanted to film one of the activities using the aquatic science, you can do that for posting on our Facebook. And so those are normally just the short videos. To have all the videos done, we are looking at March of 2022 for all the lessons. The reason why is because we want to roll those out with the new teacher guide, which this is the logistics for the ebooks. So about possibly 1 volunteer per chapter, and there'll be there's 14 chapters, so 14 total. Location, once again, is home local natural area if you wanted to make videos, because there can be videos, links, content, and a whole variety of stuff that can go in the ebooks. Availability as well varies depending on how many chapters that you wanted to accomplish. The flexibility, time commitment, I'd like to start this in a couple months. The reason why is we're having difficulty between PC and Mac on which one to which platform to use. So we're still in investigation. We want to develop templates for people to use as well. An average of 2 months for either more background research to look for or to input the content into the ebook, as well as formatting. Formatting takes a lot of the time as well too. So completion for this is March of 2022. The reason why is because we want to get the word out before teachers go on summer break, and then so they know that they can use it in the start of August, September of 2022 when they go back to school. So experience, equipment, and training needed. So for the videos, it's aquatic science knowledge is preferred because there is a lot of background information already in the teacher guide. You may not need any further advanced training, but we are offering aquatic science trainings this spring and summer, so you can attend those to get more advanced training if you would like. For equipment, a newer model cell phone works, or a camera with a movie mode, that works as well too, and it's got to be high quality videos, and video editing software, whichever you feel that you're most comfortable with. And the other 2 bullet points, those are for you to enjoy. Project Wild put on they're on that website. On the Project Wild website, there are samples of online activities, as well as on the Conservation Education Facebook page. That's me doing a current, I was vacationing in Matagorda Bay, and I said, hey, let's talk about ocean currents and temperature and turnover. And so I just did a 5-6 minute video just right there while I was on vacation. I went and grabbed some food coloring. I had everything else, and so I did a video. So those are the things that we're looking for to help the teachers. For the ebook, same thing, aquatic science knowledge is preferred, but definitely not required. A laptop with internet connection and PC or Mac, and it's looking like I don't have a Mac and I'm a PC person, but Mac seems to be the easiest way, especially through Apple Books, but we're looking for both compatibility because we realize that both the computers are needed. Ability to download an ebook platform. And so we have not selected that yet. We are still testing about 4 or 5 platforms for ease of use, and then we'll developing that platform. And then if anybody attended Tim Holt's presentation during the annual meeting, it was absolutely fabulous. And so he's got some day trip books, and that's what we're looking at for it to look like, with beautiful pictures, with wonderful text, with links to other resources and things. The benefits for you, why is this project needed? There's 64 lessons to help teachers and educators feel confident in teaching Texas aquatic science. So that's really important. They need our help to let them know how to easily teach us to their students. And currently right now, the teacher guide for the ebook, the teacher guide is 729 pages. So that would be so nice to eliminate all that printing and save that paper and have it all on one device. And then also the nice thing is that that device can go with the teacher, so they can use that ebook as they're teaching in the field, in the school grounds. So that's really important. What's in it for you to be a volunteer role model to the teachers? You acquire new technology skills if you want to take on a challenge and do this. You can learn more TAS activities. A lot of you are really knowledgeable, a lot of like macroinvertebrate sampling and water quality. So this lets you reach beyond those that you may have not taught before. And you also get your name as a special thanks on all the TPWD platforms on where the videos and ebooks will be used. How you would be helping me, oh my gosh, it's huge. I'm one person and I either run or oversee 3 statewide programs, the Texas Aquatic Science Program, the Texas Water Specialist Program, and I oversee Project Wild with Kiki. So you would be helping me so much. Here is my project contact information. And so I am in the office today, but very seldom, but I do get if you call the work number, I do get an email with that voicemail, or you're more than welcome to reach out and contact me by work. So thank you so much, everybody.
Melissa, it sounds like you really do need some help. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You do have an endorsement from Wendy Williams. She said that she's doing something similarly, and she highly recommends this volunteer opportunity. She says she finds it very fruitful.
What Wendy's doing is she's on the task force and the committee with some really awesome volunteers as well to redo and update with new technologies, new high school level vocabulary and things like that. So we're going through and we are updating the teacher guide. And I saw, I think, something pop up about Texas Waters. Yes, this is definitely something that for the advanced training for Texas Aquatic Science, many master naturalists are attending those trainings for advanced training hours. And this is something as part that could be your service hours for your recertification in the 10 hours for the water specialist program. And I know I have under a minute.
Yes, you still have a minute left. So that little noise you heard was just to let me know that you have about a minute left. Let's see. Could the contact info please be back? There you go. Thank you so much.
There you go. Yes.
So yeah, this is definitely very important information for a lot of our educators for sure to make that connection and ease of sharing this valuable information with their students for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't see any other questions unless you have something else you'd like to contribute.
Nope, that's it. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, again, for your time today. All right, so we have a few seconds before our next speaker, which is going to be Shelley Plant. So Shelley, let's see, I see you up. So hopefully you're going to be sharing your content here in a second. And she'll be talking today about Adopt a Paddling Trail.
I'm going to be joining by video on one of my Shelleys, and I'm going to join by audio by the other Shelley. So,
okay. Okay, it's coming up.
Yay.
Okay, I see something. Awesome.
All right, you ready for me
So,
to get
yes,
started?
ma'am. Go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Shelley Plant, and I am the Nature Tourism Manager at Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. And I'm here today to talk about a new project we're trying to get off the ground called Adopt a Paddling Trail program. And it's with our Texas Paddling Trails program at the agency. So a little bit of history in case you haven't heard of this program. We have 7 coastal trails that started in the 1990s. These were internal trails that our coastal fisheries staff put together because there were a lot of kayak anglers on the coast and they wanted to help guide that experience. We had a long-term view of eventually having a statewide program, not just having these 7 coastal trails, and that dream came to fruition in 2006 when we launched the Luling Zedler Mill Paddling Trail. And since then, we've had a lot of interest from local communities, and it is a community partnership model that we use on these trails. And so we have been steadily increasing every year with about 5 trails per year being launched. And now we have 78 certified trails across the state. Some parts of the state have more trails than others because they have more rivers or other bodies of water than other parts of the state. Our team is very lean and nimble, and that is largely why I'm here today. We have no full-time coordinator for this program. There is not a Texas Paddling Trails coordinator at Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. It's an important program, but it is done by a 5-member cross-divisional team at our agency. So I'm in the communication division and I work on community partnerships. And then we have 2 people, Melissa Parker and John Botras in our Inland Fisheries Division. And we have Holly Grand in our Coastal Fisheries Division. And then Paul Daughtry recently joined us from the IT department in GIS Labs, so an official mapper. What that means is we all work on it when we have time. And that means we need volunteers to really help this program get to the next level and be more useful to visitors, be more useful to wildlife conservation, and hopefully more useful to the communities in which these trails exist. So we've come up with 3 different ways initially that we could see volunteers really helping us on this program and hopefully being a benefit to the volunteers as well. That doesn't mean this can't evolve. I fully anticipate it'll evolve over time and might become more projects or things that are suited to the needs of Texas Master Naturalists or the experience that you guys bring to the table. But initially, our top priority and primary need is this computer and phone volunteers needed. And this seems really pandemic friendly because you can definitely do this at your house and from your phone, from your computer. It's a really simple thing. The hours vary. I can't put a number on it because it depends on if you only adopt one trail or if you're a really go get them volunteer and you want to do this for several trails or all of the trails. It is to annually verify the contact and site information that we have in our internal contact database, the way we communicate with our community partners, and then on the Parks and Wildlife website as well. Conduct internet, email, or phone research to get that done and make sure that we're providing quality information to people and to recreationists throughout the state. And it will really help strengthen that community partner role. With such a slim staff, we haven't been able to keep in touch as regularly as we would like with our community partners, and this would help fill that gap. Another way to help, if you didn't want to do the first, or in addition to helping with the first, is local access site review. So this is what we call a windshield survey, and this can be done by car for any of your local trail sites. So if you have a trail in your community, you would go and actually physically visit the access site. You wouldn't get on the water. You're literally just visiting the access sites for each trail. This would be seasonal or annual, depending on your availability. And it would be in person to the site where you're looking to see that signs are present, that the kiosk is still there, that there are road signs on the roadway. View the access site in person, make sure it's still serviceable, paddlers can still use it, and record back to us anything that you find. The third way is trail surveys. So actually on the water trail surveys where you can actually go and paddle and have a really nice morning or afternoon on one of the Texas paddling trails. This is an on the water survey. You would need to have access to your own canoe, kayak, or john boat that has an appropriate safety equipment, life jacket, safety whistle, light, signaling device, those sorts of things. And you would probably do this close to home. With pandemic rules now, it could expand in the future, and it would depend on the length of the trail, how many hours that would be. It would be an annual survey of the trail, but we'd also love it after a major weather event, once trail conditions get back to normal, checking out the trail again and making sure there aren't any log jams or other issues. Ensure that navigability for people and alert Parks and Wildlife to any changes or dangers that we need to put on the website. And we can put alerts at the top of paddling trail web pages. So the project logistics, we have 78 trails with 3 ways to volunteer. That could be, like I said, the computer work, the windshield survey, or the on the water paddling. Time commitment's variable depending on which part or parts of this project you do. And I realize, I'm wondering if this is blocking y'all. Y'all are just seeing, it looks like y'all are just seeing the presentation. Okay, hours are flexible. They're at the discretion of the Master Naturalist volunteer. So it's when you can do the work. It's up to you, your schedule, location throughout most of Texas, and it is a long-term project if you choose to make it that. We have worked with the GIS lab to put together overlay of where all of our paddling trails are, all those red pins, and where all the Master Naturalist chapters are. And then we put that into a book. If you've gone to the Great Texas Wildlife Trails Adopt a Loop program, it's similar to that, where we have a book where there's a page for each chapter that shows all the trails in that chapter. And then it goes down to the individual trails. So it'll show you where the access sites are and what the trail route is if you were to either do the windshield survey or if you're actually paddling the whole trail. So project experience, a list of suggested items will be given to any volunteer at the beginning of the program. We do a follow-up call and meeting with anyone interested to kind of get into the nitty-gritty. Computer research, obviously your ability to research online and keep accurate records. Windshield survey, you need some sort of access to transportation because you're actually visiting sites physically. And then trail surveys, general knowledge of canoeing and kayaking with appropriate equipment is necessary. We would not be providing that to you. And some additional training might be required. We would do in that meeting to review site visit form, database that we're trying to keep updated, discuss river safety issues. And then it will evolve. I fully anticipate that this is going to change as we learn more and y'all get into this program. So our outcomes, the information collected will be used for trail updates on our website and on the kiosks. It'll inform visitors what conditions to expect, and we'll know that that information is updated and accurate. It'll make sure that we have accurate contacts for these community partners, because while it is a community partnership model, and we did that on purpose, because even if people left, that community entity would still be there. What we have on record may not be the current person anymore. So we need help with that follow-up. And then increase awareness, appreciation, conservation of Texas wildlife and native habitats. Benefits to you: expand your knowledge of paddling opportunities, visit some of the best trails in the state, improve efforts to promote paddling, ensure accurate information, and promote overall water conservation in Texas. We protect that which we understand and know, and this would go a long way for that. This is my contact information, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I think I have 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. Spot on. Thank you, Shelley. There is one question that says, I'd be very much interested in trail surveys, but don't have formal training in kayaking, although they do have their own kayaks. Do you have any suggestions for training?
Yes, so we would cover that in our initial meeting. American Canoe Association obviously offers training, and some of it is happening during the pandemic, but a lot is postponed right now. But we would cover that, and I think the windshield survey and the computer work can help keep us occupied until we get to that point.
Very good.
Shelley, there's also a request to show option 2 slide. However, with the time limits, I will let folks know that this presentation is being recorded, and we will have that recording up on the website hopefully later this evening, if not tomorrow morning, for y'all to be able to see some of those slides that Shelley has shared with us. And
there's just one comment. I would love to see volunteer network for local kayak buddies, just for the sake of safety as well, which is a great
right. And that's why we require 2 to 4 people for any of the on the water surveys. We would never let people do a survey on their own. We would always make it be a multi-person project for that third type of volunteer.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Shelley, for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, and that is going to be Alice Best. She's our last speaker of the day, for today anyway. She's going to be speaking on monitoring invasive aquatic species through birding. And Alice, I see you. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you would, please.
Hello, everyone. Let me give you just a quick second, and I'll share my screen with my PowerPoint on it. So this is going to be a little bit of a different project, and it might be a kind of confusing title for people. The goal here is to try and find invasive fish species using birders' photographs. The need for this is, I work in the College Station Houston district for inland fisheries. I'm a fisheries biologist. And unfortunately, we're seeing more and more invasive species pop up in the Houston waterways. It feels like every time we go down there, we find a new invasive species that was an aquarium dump or somehow was released. We get a lot of emails and calls from general anglers who've caught some very weird fish. But I have a very small team. There's only 5 of us, and we can't survey every water body in Houston. And if y'all have ever driven around Houston, start looking at all of those canals, ditches, storm drainage facilities. There's a lot of water, and it all connects sometimes during floods. So we need to figure out how to categorize and how to choose which waters that we need to sample, preferably for invasive fish. So the goal of this is to use birding photos from various social network birding social networks to see if these fish are being caught by piscivorous birds, and then trying to identify them. So the picture on this screen actually came from the Facebook group Birds of Texas in November. A local birder caught an osprey catching a tilapia out of a canal in the woodlands. And this is the kind of thing that I need help trying to find. Ideally, we'd want to try and note every invasive fish species out there, but the impetus for this meeting, or for this project, is that we have a possible new invasive species that could be very bad in the Houston area. Right now, it's only in 1 park and 1 lake in Missouri City. But if it spreads, it could have a pretty strong impact on native fish communities. This new species is called an Asian swamp eel, Monopterus cutia. It doesn't really have an accepted English common name yet. But what you need to know about it is it's an eel, it's land breathing, it's burrow dwelling, it destabilizes banks, and it is very good at eating a wide variety of fish. And it's also related to a species that has been a very successful invader in Florida. And in Florida and Georgia, they've actually done a project much like what I'm proposing to track its range, and they were actually able to follow its range expansion through birding photographs. So what are the expected outcomes for this? First, I would like to identify areas for actual fish community surveys. I need to find a way to help prioritize these in-person surveys. Each in-person survey is actually quite a bit of work. So I can't just sample everything. I need to figure out where to sample first. If we can, we'll try to remove the species if it's possible. And if not, we'll do some adaptive management to mitigate the effects of that species. So one example is we have a lot of armored catfish in the Houston area, which you see in aquarium stores as Plecostomus or plecos. Well, those eat pretty much any plant material they have access to, which affects the fish community. So then we have to find a way to provide replacement habitat that those plecos can't eat. Once we identify some of these locations for fish community surveys, anyone who's volunteering on the virtual side of this project would be welcome to go out into the field with us, assuming COVID's under control by then. Second project outcome is determine if this is a feasible method to look at invasive fish species in Texas. I mentioned that this was a successful project in Georgia with a related species. They were able to actually track and identify some new lakes that Monopterus albus related species had gotten into. Ideally, I'd like to do an article in a peer-reviewed journal on whether this works or not. And again, if volunteers on the virtual side of this, if you would want to help me write that, you could be a co-author on a peer-reviewed paper, which would be pretty cool. So project logistics. For now, it's just going to be a virtual service project. I need help going through eBird, iNaturalist, various Facebook sites to look for these photos. Right now, it'll be 8 to 10 volunteers working individually, but I would like to do monthly group update meetings to see how this is working. This is the first time I've run a project like this. It's the first time a project like this has ever been done in Texas. So I expect that how I have it planned in my head might need to adjust depending on who's involved in the volunteering and what everyone's finding. It might take more time. It might take way less time to go through some of these photos. Again, this is the first kind of project of its kind in Texas. So right now I'm estimating about 8 hours per month and estimating a duration of about 6 months. This time period is flexible, and if there are volunteers who are really excited and interested about this, but need to change around their time, we can make that decision as a group and make it so that the most people can work on this that want to. Okay, so what project experience or training do you need? Well, sorry about the formatting on the title there. You need access to Facebook, eBird, iNaturalist, or any other social media birding platforms. I will admit right now I am not a birder, so there are probably some other social birding sites where people can post photos of the birds they see that I'm not aware of. So if you know something or you're a member of another group, like let me know. That'd be a great asset to the project. You don't need any prior experience with this. It's pretty easy to see that bird is carrying something. Let's look at it closer. But if you do have some experience with fish or fish identification, that would be useful. And then finally, I will provide more advanced fish identification training. Right now, that's probably going to have to be virtual, but COVID allowing, we could do an in-person training session at my office here in College Station. And again, this is going to be dependent on volunteers and their experience. If people really are excited about this, but don't know how to tell an eel from a tilapia, that's something that I can teach you. That's definitely learnable. So why should you volunteer? One, you might actually be able to help me head off a potential invasion, and that's not something you get the chance to do very often. Usually we don't find these species until they've already created a huge issue. This might be a chance to actually do that, which is really cool. You're going to help me as a fish biologist in the agency figure out how to allocate our very limited resources in a useful and productive way. You're going to get to learn how to identify fish species, become better at it. You might be able to help publish a peer-reviewed article if you are interested in that process. And then once COVID lets up and we can actually try and go in the field and look at some of these hot spot locations, you'd be welcome to come out and actually go electrofishing with us or go netting with us. Most likely the sampling technique will be electrofishing, but that could vary depending on the actual water body, if we can get a boat in there or if there's a better method of collection. But right now we're thinking it'll probably mostly be electrofishing. If you're interested in this, please shoot me an email. My name is alice.best@texasparksandwildlife.gov. You're also welcome to give me a call at the phone number listed here. And if for some reason y'all aren't interested in this project, but just want to see cool fish in an urban setting, feel free to follow us on Facebook or shoot us questions whenever you want. And with that, I have, I think, about a minute or two for questions, if anyone has any specific questions.
Thank you so much, Alice. I don't see any here unless Michelle.
Sorry, Judith. I had one that came in directly. It was, is the focus limited to the Houston Gulf Coast area?
For the virtual side of it, anyone is welcome to join. Anyone's welcome to help. When we actually get into the field, if you want to travel all the way to Houston and go in the field with us, you'd be more than welcome to do so. But it is a large area and we won't have any funding to provide hotel rooms or anything like that. But we would welcome you on a survey if you'd like to come with us.
And this project is designated as a statewide project. So there was another question about whether or not they had to be in the Houston area to be eligible for volunteer service hours.
Correct. And we're going to be focused on looking for birding photos from the Houston area. But if we find that there just aren't that many, or it's really easy to just look for the entire state, we might expand that as well. But the on-the-ground sampling would have to occur in Houston because that's the area I have access to.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alan, for your time. Again, another great, interesting project.
This is exciting, so thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. With that pretty much concludes day one. I just wanted to bring the attention to one speaker who was not able to attend, and that's Miss Kathy Smith with Village Creek State Park, and there are 5 projects she has available. So these will not be presented today or tomorrow, but they are in the catalog. So please be sure to look those projects up as well to see if those are of interest to you. And thank all of our speakers for wonderful projects that obviously have a need and sound exciting too. So I'll pass it over to Mary Pearl at this point.
Thank you, Judith. I appreciate it so much. We're going to just wrap this up. As Judith mentioned, we don't have any more projects to present today, but we have a whole day tomorrow from 9 to noon with additional projects that are different from the ones that were presented today. So please stay tuned for those throughout tomorrow morning. We're excited to have a whole nother set of speakers tomorrow join us. And so we want you to join that. To get more information and to join tomorrow's presentation, please go ahead and you can go to our website. We'll drop that link into the chat here in just a second. And you can find our agenda and the registration link for tomorrow's presentations.
Michelle, you know the agenda real quick.
Yeah. I'm trying it slow. Here's tomorrow's agenda here. Thank you for dropping that link in. The WebEx registration link is in the chat now. And so here's just a rundown of tomorrow's presentations. Like we said, we'll start at 9 a.m. with presentations starting at 9:10, being back-to-back for 10 minutes. A presentation by Bracken Cave Preserve, City Nature Challenge, Aquaplant website and review, an invasive species survey and verification by Angela, and then a break. We'll have an Adopt a Loop presentation by Joshua, who also works with the Adopt a Paddling Trail presentation that we heard today, a Fat Bat project, story time for bats, plant ID, and then aligning TPWD educational resources with the TEEPs. another break, and then we'll wrap up day 2 with another set of presentations covering Texas Municipal Park Providers Inventory, Aquatic Plant Photo Submission, Round 2. That was a project that was presented last fall and is being opened up again. Armchair Botanist by Britt, Horned Lizard Conservation Educational Materials, and then Parks and Wildlife's Team User Tester, a ground truthing tool presentation seeking volunteers. So again, a whole series of presentations that we have tomorrow that are different from those that you heard today. Michelle has dropped the information on logging volunteer service hours in the chat. Michelle, do you want to go over that one more time just so that we've got that covered?
We can.
Okay. You want to start?
So, in the chat, we dropped this. Whoops, this is the wrong slide, or you want me to cover this one?
Yeah, you can cover the Survey Monkey too. I think that'd be
Okay.
good.
So for we've set up a survey for all of the projects that are being presented for the virtual volunteer fair today and tomorrow. To sign up or put your name on the list for any of the projects that are being presented, we're asking you to visit the Survey Monkey and add your information there. Throughout the rest of the month in February, and by the end of February, we'll be sharing the list that accumulates there with the project presenters and project leads that have presented over the past 2 days, and they will follow up with contacting you after the event is done, and to get you signed up and kind of set up to volunteering on the project. And then go ahead and move to the how to report, please. Again, one of the things that we dropped in the chat box just here a few seconds ago, was how to log your hours for attending or listening today. You're going to report to this TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair. That project opportunity has been created at the state level and shared down to all of our chapters folders. So you should see it in your chapter drop-down box already. Or if you don't, go ahead and register or sign up yourself at this link here. That's the link that we've dropped in the chat box already. When you report for attending today or listening in afterwards, if you're a member seeing this after the event and you're watching the recording, you're going to report back to this TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair. You get service hours for every 15 minutes of attendance in the virtual volunteer fair and the projects presented. It is a multi-day event. If you're attending both days, you'll need to report 2 different times, one for attending today and then one for attending tomorrow, or the recording that you watch later on. Report to the nearest 15-minute increments for the total time that you actively attend. And when you do report, just include your note of the service performed. Report that you reviewed or attended project intros at the Virtual Volunteer Service Fair. You can even be more specific at the Spring 2021 Virtual Volunteer Service Fair. And then if we want to move to how to report, once you get signed up and set up to work on a project, we'll move to how to report that for the sake of time. There's one of the things is that there are a couple different types of projects. For the true virtual service projects presented at the fair this spring, you will present back again to that TMN Virtual Volunteer Service Fair project opportunity. These are for the true virtual projects that can be done from home and usually working through a device or online. When you report the day that you give the service back to that virtual project, and report that you, when you do report what project you worked on, what virtual service project you worked on, and then what you did. And then if you get signed up to work on place-based projects, you'll report that a little bit differently. And then there's a little bit of lag there. Place-based projects, these will be most likely the place or the location or nature center or state park, whatever it is probably already listed as a place or project opportunity for your local chapter if that place exists within your local chapter or ecoregion. And so when you do volunteer on a place-based project, you will report to that location opportunity in your chapter's drop-down box and on your LBE. So you'll just report to that opportunity, tell what you did, be pretty descriptive about what you did on that project or at that location, and how it was related to the virtual volunteer fair. As a member, this is how it will look for you. On the left, you see the place-based service projects. This is an example using Stream Team testing at Fort Parker State Park. So this is a sample of a place-based project that happened maybe for the Heart of Texas chapter. And then on the virtual service projects, this is what it'll look like to our members when you go to report and you ensure that you are registered to work on this project, the virtual volunteer fair project. So you report to the virtual volunteer service fair opportunity, TMN report hours.
Michelle, there was a question from Benita about, do we need to inform our chapters of the project? So I'm assuming she's asking maybe prior to the project, just because it's on the website, do they still need to check what their...
Right, so all projects need to be pre-approved, reviewed and pre-approved by your chapter. So just the fact that they're being presented today at our virtual volunteer service fair doesn't necessarily mean it's a project for the entire state. So there are some very ecoregion specific projects, and so each of these projects being presented today in this new light still need to be reviewed and approved by your local chapter. And if it's a new opportunity to your local chapter, it needs to be set up. The place-based ones need to be set up for your chapter if your chapter does approve it. The statewide virtual opportunities already all exist in the VMS for all chapters. That was copied down to all chapter folders.
And then just to show, as we're wrapping up, it is noon. We've tried to put as much information that you may need to answer some of these questions on our website, which we've copied that link into the chat. I'm going to do it one more time. And we've got kind of a running list of questions at the top that you can click on. And then once you click on those, it'll take you to resources underneath that question. That includes the VMS quick guide that Michelle was talking about earlier. The catalog is on here, links for tomorrow's event, and then of course the agenda for tomorrow's event as well. So with that, thank you guys so much for joining us today for our virtual volunteer fair day 1 of 2 days. We really appreciate your attendance today, and we look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording.